fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell at before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good to say I dabbled in stand-up or something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. What's up, boys and girls? Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We're on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, all the places where you can find podcasts. And thank you for joining us this evening. I'm really excited for our guest. Before I bring her in, I have to talk about a couple of comedy shows coming up. Yes, I'm going to be in Staten Island. That's Pete Davidson country. Next Friday, April 7th, I'll be at the Reef at Paradise Island. Come check it out. And this is a Boomer is running this show. So to get tickets, you have to pick up a phone and use it for the phone purposes. 845-827-3460. Or you just show up at the place at 8:30 next Friday. This is the flyer. This is the graphic I have just to print it out. Old school. I like it. Then I'll be in Morris Plains, New Jersey, Saturday, April 8th at Tiff's Ale House. They got a good salad, very strong Cosmos. They have good regular food too. I am just more of a note to myself to watch it on the Cosmos when I go to this place. Then I'm heading to Jersey. We got the FNT Geeks and Gamers meetup on Wednesday, April 26th at the Millennium Fandom Bar. Then we got my show at the Space the following evening, Thursday, April 27th. Get your tickets now. Tickets are flying for this show. And they may book a second late show. They may not. So it all depends on the club. But let me just take a look at the seating map. Yeah, tickets are going. There's like maybe 2 full rows left in the back. So get on it, guys. Then I'll be heading to, by the way, Lila Hart will be opening for me in Vegas. Then we're heading to Dallas, May 5th and 6th. I'll be headlining Hyenas in Dallas. Lila Hart will be opening for me. Alex Stein will be doing spots on these shows as well, and I'll be appearing on his show at the Blaze earlier that week. Then we got the Sandman Comedy Club in Richmond, Virginia, Wednesday, August 9th, and Anime Matsuri right after that, the 10th through the 13th in Houston. If you know you're going to be at this convention, get your tickets now for my show at the Secret Group that Friday, August 11th. It's going to be super fun. A lot of convention people hanging out. And it's always good to have plans, something to do after the convention ends. And yeah, hope you guys all come by. Sweet. Okay, I'm so excited to introduce this next guest. She was just on Friday Night Tights this past Friday and just absolutely did amazingly. Everyone loved her. I'm sure she'll be back soon. So you may know her from that appearance. She's a social scientist. She's a content creator. You may have seen her on YouTube as well. Aydin Paladin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
I never know what kind of, I don't know. I sometimes slip into this place where I am announcing somebody on stage, like for a comedy show. And sometimes my intros for YouTube or for podcasting, people are like, what? I'm like, everybody clap. Here comes Aydin. You've
Digital
seen her on
clapping.
Friday Night Tights and Tim Pool. You've done Tim Pool though, right?
Yeah, back in November.
Oh, wow. Hold on. I've never seen your face. Did you go on with your face?
No, I wore a bag over my head, but no, it's
Did
just
you really?
no.
Oh my
No,
God.
No, I like
Okay.
I just don't I don't know. I don't even have a webcam on this desktop. I have one on my laptop, I guess, because it's built in, but I don't really I've thought about doing it more. My co-host and I, who I do my weekly podcast with, he doesn't show his face either. So I don't know. We use the cartoons. I've been using it for 5 years now, so it's just kind of the more recognizable thing, I guess.
That's cool. I always like asking people like who don't show their face, like their reasons for why or why not, and it's probably got to help, especially in the case of you if you have a regular full-time job. Like I wish I could have thought. I didn't even think to have a stage name. I just was like, "Bah." And then you just keep going, and then eventually you get bigger and bigger, and then that day job wants to fire you. That's how it was for me, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think for me, it's just that I tend to, which you can see if you watch Tim Pool, I tend to have very animated facial expressions. And so it makes it very, very easy to pause at any point and I'm making the dumbest expression imaginable. So and it's just, I just like having the avatar so that I can, I don't have to worry about making really dumb facial expressions.
Yeah, you can really focus on what you're saying and not worry about your face. And also, like, you can sit, like
Right. Yeah. I
I
can
always
sit
do
like a
that Honey
goblin.
Boo Boo thing where you like she grabs her stomach unflatteringly. Like, I just do that kind of all the time. My sister was like, "Stop doing that." Like, I'm like, "I just wanna lose this." And I'll just, like,
Yeah.
unflatteringly grab my stomach. I'll just make a lot of double chin faces on camera, but you don't have to worry about that. Good for
Exactly.
you.
Yeah, I can sit all crunched over like a weird crab all I like.
Yeah. I'm
So that's fine.
constantly crossing and uncrossing my legs,
Yeah.
like moving up my
Same.
knees, like literally like,
Yeah.
like
See, that's the kind of thing that you're gonna get clipped. That's gonna get someone's gonna get a screenshot of
hopefully
that.
there are actually holes in these pants. But
Uh-oh.
not in the crotch, like in the thigh part. That's probably not better. That's okay. Aydin, how did you come to be a content creator? Or I guess what's even more interesting about you is that you're a social scientist. What is that? To me, that just sounds like I was a psychology major and I'm gonna I'm gonna just keep trying to impress people. But
I mean, it's a little bit of, I guess, a sad story, but it's really old now, so I'm not like ashamed about it anymore. But I was a PhD student in communication science with a emphasis on media psychology. This was back in 2015, and I kind of just one of the things that happens. A couple of things happened. One, I drunkenly went on Destiny's stream way before I did anything, and talked about Paul. I JonTron'd myself. Okay, if you know anything about what happened to JonTron, is going on
no.
and saying some stuff half cocked because I was a big Trump fan, and I got doxxed by that, and they complained to the university. But at the same time, I was also taking a sabbatical at that point in time from the university because here's what happens if you're really good at the academia game. They give you more stuff to do, and then they give you more stuff to do, and then they give you more stuff to do, and eventually it was just like I was so worn out that I had to take time off because for my mental health. And then I did stupid things like went on Destiny.
So you were going for a
Mostly fun.
PhD, but you were doing work that was not required for the PhD. You were like just going above and
Oh,
beyond, or they were just giving you more projects.
so when you are in most graduate and doctoral level programs, you don't just take classes like you would normally do in undergraduate. You are also a student teacher, usually meaning that you teach your own classes, and then you will also oftentimes be a TA for other classes, and then you will be expected to do research, which is a totally different project and outside of your regularly scheduled hours, which is for doctoral school, it's about 4 classes a semester. You don't want to do more than that. The classes in doctoral school are not like an hour and a half or an hour like they are in undergraduate. They're about 5 hours each
Oh
class.
wow.
And I would say on average, at least in my program, you get about 1,000 pages of homework to read every week. And you are really expected, because you get grilled when you come into class and it's part of your grade, if you have not read it, because they will grill you to make sure that you have read every page of every study that they and every book
God,
that they assign you to read.
what if you're just a shitty reader? Like I have to
Sink or
read
swim stuff,
books
you know?
I've already read. Like I'll be in the middle of a book and I'll be like, I don't know what the fuck happened in this thing. I got to start all over.
Mhm.
That
It's
sounds like a
it's
me
it's
problem though.
easier in with
Mhm.
research because You can like write notes on it. It's all written in a very uniform format. And I don't know, by the way, if my experience in doctoral school is uniform to other people's, because I imagine there's probably some. I went to one of the best. I was in like one of the top, most competitive programs in the country,
Ooh.
which I
What
didn't
was
know
that?
actually when they accepted me. Weirdly,
The only communication school I know is like Newhouse that's in Syracuse, because I was a communications major, but like
was it
nothing,
communications with an S, so it was more like journalism, or communication no S?
with an N. God, that's a great question. Fuck. I know that I was communication or communications, but my focus was media studies.
So more like journalism kind of stuff, and
I
or
think
more
so.
research.
Yeah. I thought,
Because weirdly, they're two different things. It doesn't seem like they should be, but so like my graduate and doctoral school was West Virginia University, and we're down. They put us down in like this really crappy old building, and the journalism communications with an S department was up on the hill. And how, if you dare say it's the communications department, oh my goodness, you're
wow.
going to get a talking to. And the not really much to the graduate students, because they knew the difference at that point because it had been drilled into them. But if an undergraduate came in, that's another thing you have to do, is you have to be a teaching assistant, so you have office hours on top of everything else. So you're going to school full time, you're teaching full time, you have office hours, and then you have to be a full time researcher if you're doing well and they like you. And
Whoa.
yeah, it's a
Wow.
really weird catch-22 in that, is that like the better of a graduate student you are, the more crap they pile onto you to do, which makes you a worse graduate student.
Oh
I know
wow.
why they do it. It's because they trust you with the responsibility. But it was
Right,
too much
because
for
with
me.
any job, the better you are, the more work you get, and
Right.
the more you get done. Like, what do they say? You want something done, give it to a busy person, something like
Mhm.
that. What did you want to be when you grow up? I don't know if I'm taking you off of your story path,
Oh
but
no, I wanted to be a professor. I wanted to be a researcher, which
ooh.
is, funnily enough, even though in many ways, and I've still, I mean, every time I open my email, I've been accepted into a university to restart my PhD program. But now, after 6 years, it's like so
Wait, you didn't
scary.
get it? You didn't get the PhD?
No, I didn't finish it because again, I dropped
Oh.
out because I of like mental health stuff, and so I dropped out in my second year, and the university was amazing to me. By the way, they gave me so many, like, "We just come back to take one class," but it was like too much.
Well, they don't wanna lose a customer, right?
Oh, you don't
I'm
pay.
so cynical.
You don't
Oh,
you
okay.
don't you don't pay to, well, some people do, but it's in research-oriented programs, it's very unusual to pay to go to graduate and doctoral school because you're working for them,
Oh.
so they
Right.
actually pay you. Now, I described all the things I'm doing. I'm teaching 2 classes, TAing for 2 classes, I've got my office hours and all that stuff. How much money do you think you make a year as a graduate student at a tier 1 university?
30K or less?
Try 11.
Wait, and this is where? This is in Virginia?
West Virginia University, actually, I think as in graduate school was 8,000 a year, and then in doctoral it was 11,000. And you're expected, figure it, make it work. They did pay you, to be fair.
That's not even ramen money to
I
be
know it's
met. I
not.
was just thinking ramen. That's so funny. I was
That
like,
was
"How?"
3 years. That's all I ate was ramen and tortillas, like soft flour tortillas with crappy deli meat on them and mustard, and that was like my whole life.
I remember I ate a lot of cans of tuna in college.
Tuna, that'll
Yeah.
get you through too. Tuna, ramen.
No mayo either, just like a cat, just right
I
out of
know.
the can, like a homeless cat.
I
Yeah.
know. I mean, at least they do pay you. It's not, I would say it's obviously not a livable wage, but it's
Mm.
it's better than having to pay. I mean, there are people who pay to go to doctoral school and take on hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt to then go be a professor, which is, I mean, it's not a bad job, but we're talking $80,000 a year, maybe 100, depending on where you're teaching at. And you're not going to get that straight out. You're probably going to start at a 50 or 60 as a associate professor, not associate. I can't remember what it's called
Adjunct
anymore.
or something?
Adjunct, yeah.
Yeah. So you wanted to be, like a sociology professor?
Yeah, communication science or
Yeah.
communications scholarship, which my focus was on intergroup psychology, like how different groups of people interact, and media psych. So how people are influenced by media, in other words, which
Or
has
propaganda.
yeah, which led
Yeah.
me really well into here. And one of the things I loved teaching, and I realized when my dad told me, he was like, hey, Aydin, like you got to find something to do while I was taking a sabbatical. And he said, why don't you go start a YouTube channel? And so, because I would call my
Your
dad.
dad suggested
Y-
that? What a cool
Yeah,
dad. My
I
dad
know,
doesn't even know
right?
what YouTube is.
Well, he said like, because I'd call him up. I was alone in this college town. I really didn't know anybody except people in the university, and I'm taking a sabbatical, so I can't really like talk to them a whole bunch because it's like I'm on a mental health break, So it's kind of weird to
They
just,
can't
like,
see you doing anything fun, like bowling or something. Like, hey, you're supposed to be working
yeah,
shit
but
out.
right. Well, no, exactly. There was that. I had that impression. So I'd call my dad up, and it was during like when Trump was running for president, and I was all on board with Trump. I loved Trump. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. I liked Bernie too at first until he kind of ended up being a sellout. But I really liked Trump, and I'd call my dad up and I'd just talk to him for like 2 hours about politics, and he basically told me at one point,
Wow.
stop calling me. For no, not like don't like stop calling me about anything, but like you need to go talk to somebody else about this.
Really? Was he Republican or Democrat, or like how
He's
big
a
of a house
Republican.
growing up? Okay.
I grew up. My dad's he wouldn't call himself a libertarian, but he's a big history buff, and he's very intelligent. My mom's really intelligent too. She's a teacher. They were both like Republican leaning people though, so that was kind of how I grew up.
It makes sense because you're very smart. It makes sense that you have smart parents. Because I look at my
Oh,
parents,
thank
and
you.
it's like my mom was kind of like a bimbo, and my dad was like a landscaper. So it's like, yeah, I'm probably the best case scenario. Like, what did we expect? So
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
no.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, my dad told me to like basically like go scream into the void instead of like getting fired up at me, which was a good idea because I wanted to teach, and what I get to do now is teach, but put more memes into it, which is
Memes
fun.
are a powerful teaching tool. I
They
hope that
are.
memes are incorporated into many college classes
It's
because
something
that
called instructional humor processing theory.
oh,
There's
what
a
a
name for it.
sounds unfun. That's what
I know.
college is great at.
It is great at research, and science is so good at taking something like humor and comedy and truncating it down into instructional humor processing theory.
Oh my god. That is one thing I kind of miss about it's so easy to shit on college and like, oh, all the college kids are brainwashed. Oh, it's like indoctrination camp. But I do miss college. Like you do feel smart while you're there. Like I'm
Oh
going to
yeah.
class. I have a backpack. You're like, yeah, I'm learning. You think you're learning. You're like, wow. And then looking back, it's like this nice time where you're not expected to like really work full time. Like
Hmm.
I have like a little side lifeguarding job, but you're not expect to like your parents are kind of paying you're paying your own bills just later. You just have a lot of debt later on,
Right.
but at the
Well,
time you realize it because you don't know what's going on.
I guess so. I was really blessed, I guess, in that manner. My dad's a very practical guy, so I think a lot of the things that have happened in my life have been because of him, besides just starting the YouTube thing. But my number one choice for universities were American and George Washington, both in DC.
Oh,
Oh, when I was 18, I wanted to be a Fed. I wanted to work for the
why?
FBI. Yeah, really hardcore. I
Oh, you're
did.
like, I look great in navy and black,
Right.
and I have a cool slick haircut.
Just want to be Mulder from the
Yes,
X-Files. But
just
I got in to American and GW, and neither one of them gave me a scholarship. And those schools are
nerd.
$40,000 a year, which is
That-
just
Yeah.
an incomprehensible amount of money. And instead, I get into this small to mid-sized middle, almost said Middle East, Midwestern.
Middle Eastern school.
Yeah, this small Midwest
A lot
school.
of my classmates were ticking. I didn't have
Yeah,
a clue for that.
small Midwest Catholic university called Xavier, and they gave me a free ride pretty much.
Whoa.
So I was like, well, I I'm going to Xavier then, and so I didn't have to really pay anything to go to undergraduate. But and then I didn't have to pay to go to grad school or doc school. So I it was all very like calculated though on my part,
Good
and not so many people
job.
are that lucky or blessed. I mean, I had high, what was it called, the SAT and ACT scores, but I didn't have the
Okay.
greatest GPA. So it's hence why I probably didn't get the scholarship to American. But hey, I'm
Their
really
loss.
happy. I'm happy
Yeah.
with the way things. If I had gone to American or GW, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I'd be monitoring this stream right now. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. To whoever's monitoring this stream right now, like, hi, you could have had your places swapped with Aydin.
Hello,
It's so
local FBI agent.
What a funny thing to think about. Every stand-up
weird,
comedy
right?
show I do, I joke that there's like people from the government in the audience. But I always go and do crowd work, and eventually, sometimes I do find someone who has a government job, and then I'm like, "What do you do?" But it's fun.
There he is.
I don't know.
There she
Really
is.
not. I guess I have nothing really to hide, but that's pretty neat. I remember we gave my brother shit. He got a big scholarship to Lehigh, and he chose not to go because he thought it was for jocks, or he thought it like I
Oh,
guess
it's a
my
great
brother
school, though.
wasn't like a cool kid. He ended up going to RPI, which I guess I don't know, it was better for nerds. I don't know. I remember he was complaining like there were no girls really at the school. I'm like, "It's an engineering school. What do you
Yeah,
think?"
yeah, that would be probably the case. Yeah, the two schools I got full scholarships to were Xavier and Virginia Tech, and it was right
Uh-oh.
after the shooting. Like
Oh
it
no,
was.
it should have been on sale then.
I think that's why. It's because it was on sale.
Isn't that so funny? I heard somebody say a good travel tip is to go somewhere after there's been like a real tragedy or something like
God.
that. Like this guy was going around like, "Oh yeah, I've gone to all these places after something horrible happened because it's much cheaper to go there." So colleges should be the same.
Well, I guess Nashville then right now.
Yeah.
As horrible as it is, but I mean, if that's true.
It is horrible. Yeah, it's it's so crazy. I I've always I liked Trump too. Like Trump was very pivotal in my red pilling because just something about him saying like fake news, and then all of a sudden one day it clicked. I was like, oh my God, wow. Like they're not just telling us the truth. Like an idiot just like woke up. Like, oh my God, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Look who look who their investors are. Look where their sponsors are. Like, oh my God, it all made sense. And then it's been a steady series of other red pills since.
Yeah, I wasn't political largely throughout undergraduate. I was real political when I was a teenager. I was a hardcore libertarian, Ron Paul, 2008. I was all on board with Ron Paul. And then I went to college and it was, again, very nice Catholic university. I got 2 degrees. So I was there for 5 years. And I had other stuff to worry about. I did become the only member of Campus Libertarians. And I stopped doing it because I was the only member. So
you're like, we need a libertarian club. All right, it's just me. Well, fuck, I guess I'm the president.
Well, it did already exist, and then I went in to join it, and all the people who had founded it were all graduating, so I became de facto the only member. It's really depressing.
Like I could just have this in my room. We don't need a club for it. It's just me.
Right.
Wow. Did you feel like it was hard to make friends in college?
Oh no, I had a great time in college. I had a fantastic time. It was again, whenever I talk about my undergraduate experience, I was big ups Xavier University. If you're a young person, you're looking at a university to go to. I know they're Catholic. I know that freaks some people out, but they're extremely chill. And they do this thing called Manresa, which is the orientation thing. So you
heard of that?
Yeah, it's a couple schools do it. It's a orientation program that lasts for a week before classes start. And they pair you up in groups. And I didn't find out until years later when I was working with the university that once you're accepted and they know you're going to come, I forgot about this. They have you fill out like this personality profile essentially. And then they pair you up with other people using a statistical protocol to find people, like just find keywords. They actually use mathematics and statistics to do this, which is not hard to do. It's
cool.
Very simple. So that the people so I don't know anybody, and I'm put into this room with two other people in our, and I think there was like maybe 5 people altogether, but 2 of the people in the group for Manresa is this tall, lanky dude and this shorter Asian girl, and we're just kind of sitting around, and I don't remember who first said it, but it kind of just came. I was like, "So do you guys like anime?" And then they became my best friends instantly. Because we all were like big turbo nerds, who were all the 3 of us were. And so like from day one, I had a built-in friend group, which was a really cool thing.
I thought the stories could either end, we're best friends, or we immediately did a threesome. But I'm relieved to here that you can.
They did. I think they're actually married now. The two of them, actually. I think.
No way!
I
That's
know.
so
I think so.
cute.
It's been years. I know, right? It's adorable.
Wow, that's really neat.
So the masterminds at Xavier, based on a personality, like a quick personality quiz, like figured out. We'll put these people together.
I feel like that's what social media should have been.
I know.
Like, or maybe it was intended for originally.
I think probably in the beginning. Well, Facebook was supposed to be just to keep in touch with your college
friends.
Yeah.
I remember when it came out, I was like, wow, this is it's one of those things you feel like I'm special. I'm in college. I get Facebook now.
Interestingly, Twitter is like the antithesis of that. It's how to meet people, how to come across people that are awful.
Yeah.
When I
where all
was
the worst people are.
Yeah, when I was finishing my second degree, I was forced to, for a class requirement, make a Twitter account. I don't have access to this anymore. I don't even remember what the email was. I'm sure it was my school email. And like our teacher forced us to tweet so that we could understand how Twitter works because we were going to be studying it. And I just hated it so much. And now, like everybody else, I use Twitter. But back then I couldn't comprehend it. I absolutely could not comprehend the point of it.
Back then you're like, this is what I had for lunch. No, that's Instagram. What are you doing?
Well, yeah, this would have been like 2011, 2012. So back when Twitter was a little bit more of a newer thing. But yeah, I'm just like, what the hell is the point of this stupid app?
Wow, that's so neat. Okay. So you dropped out of your PhD program. You, on the recommendation of your dad, you start a YouTube. How do you figure out what your content's going to be?
Oh, I'm interested in social science. I was a social scientist. I was like, why don't I just do, and what my dad told me to do is, why don't you just, instead of talking at me more accurately about social science and politics, why don't you just go do that into the void, into YouTube? So
he's like, instead of talking to me, talk to not me, and then I'll listen to it at my leisure or not.
Yeah, which it sounds a little cruel, but it was actually, that's just my dad's sense of humor. But he was completely right because it is sort of a niche, and I'll never get like I'll never be probably like you have a huge channel, right? Because it is a niche, and there's not a lot of people who want to listen to 2 hours of me reading studies and telling what the results are.
I would.
Oh, thank you. No, but you got to be realistic about some things, right? It is a niche, but a niche that I don't think there's a lot of people filling. There's not a lot of people that I've seen on YouTube who do what I do, which is I'm going to go, hey, you got a question about society? Let me go read the research and show you what scientists have found by talking to people and observing people and conducting experiments.
Yeah, people definitely don't want to do any of that shit. They're like, what? Reading? I'm out. Yeah.
The math part, I think, is intimidating, but once you're used to that, you're used to it.
But this is pretty decent. 127K is great. Did you get your silver button?
I did.
Ooh.
Yeah.
When did you start your channel? What year?
It was I made my first video on January 6th or January 8th, the day that Trump was inaugurated. I released my first video.
Yeah, actually, I joined January 27th. January 20th.
That must have been it. Yeah, the day that, or 2017, not 16. Because my first video was called "How You Elected Trump," and it was about about a very basic psychological principle called psychological reactance, which is universal in that if you tell people they can't do something, they always want to do it. It's the don't push the button effect. People hate being told what not to do.
Yeah, because our inner child is like,
right.
Nope.
Yeah, you're not my real dad. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah. Wow. The Girl Boss Paradox got 239K. Why did this video blow up?
Did you see those Mom Life comics that popped up like 6 months ago?
Life?
Yeah, she's an Instagram mommy blog, not really, I guess kind of blogger. She does comic, like little, like one panel comics. I kind of hesitate to call them comics. But it popped off on Twitter because the content it just seems like she hates her husband. There was the one that got really famous was like her husband is gonna eat, she's like, me, beleaguered mother, I'm oh look, the last ripe peach, I'm going to save it as a nice treat for the kids. And then it's my husband, selfish asshole, I'm gonna eat the peach. Like that.
That's familiar.
I went super viral, and I went and looked at her stuff, and I also was looking at we hear all the time that oh, being a girl boss is so great. And, you know, I love being emancipated and having the right to vote. And it's like, actually, you don't want to look into the research on how happy women are today versus how happy they were in 1970. Because the answer is
Right.
real bad. Women are miserable today. And I mean, it's no surprise why. I look at all these young people who are using these dating apps, and they just like it's this crazy jungle of trying to make yourself stand out, and the women don't seem at all happy with this, even though it's like, oh, I can have 100 boyfriends. But are you happy with that? Are you happy using filters and trying to pretend that you're somebody you're not to get a dude?
Yeah, I think the boomers, well, I only have my own experience, but
Mhm.
my mom, dad, obviously boomers. My mom only went to secretarial school. My dad did go to college. He got he wanted to be a park ranger. I think he got like a forestry degree, but then eventually
Whoa!
like was a
My mom
landscaper.
wanted to be a park ranger.
No,
That's crazy.
still alive?
Yeah. My mom, yeah.
Are her and your dad still together? We should set
No,
them up.
they got divorced when I was a little kid, but
Oh
you
my
know.
god! All right, we're gonna set our parents up. Okay. Anyway,
Serendipity.
so all my mom wanted was for the three of us to just get college degrees, and if that's how most boomers felt, then it's kind of like, oh, you have to get what's the next rational step after
Yep.
college? Well, you got to get the best job possible
Yeah.
with that degree. That's why I always had a job until I absolutely got fired for not taking the vax. But that's why I literally always had a job, even though I was doing comedy like 10 plus years, always had a job. So it's like, okay, well, what's the next rational step after that? Okay, get as high as you can in that job. And what do you have to do that? Like, you have to work like a man. You have to have a dude, like, you have to act like a
Right.
CEO if you want to be a CEO. And what is that?
Yes.
That's you have to
You
work
have to
50
advocate for
plus
yourself
hour
too.
weeks. Yeah, you have to do all the things that women are bad at: advocating for
Yep.
yourself,
Right.
asking for raises.
Yep.
Yeah, going for a big job. All the
The
things I
research on
suck
that's
at.
really consistent is it's not, obviously women are not actually paid less than men because of discrimination. They are paid less, but there's a whole bunch of reasons. A big one is maternity leave, and that women don't want to work as much, and they have an opportunity in many instances to leave the workforce in a way that men generally don't. But the other really big one is like you mentioned, you have to go in and ask for a raise. Men will do that. Women will sit around and be like, "Oh, I don't want to be presumptuous." It's just a more
I will
feminine
think
trait.
of all the reasons why I don't deserve one. I will, like,
Right.
I will
Hmm.
be like, "Well, oh god, that's why, like, I'm better to work for myself or, like, someone really closely, like, you know, I guess a husband or something." But I am so good at talking my I at the it takes me, like, just a few months of working at a job to not be taking a lunch break anymore, to be, like, working at least an hour overtime, like, default. I'll just
Right.
chip away at, like, all my own shit.
I
Like, my
know.
last job I had, every
Feel
single
that.
year, I had many vacation days left over, and you couldn't roll them over. I just, like, kinda felt like I didn't deserve to take them. Like, I just
Oh,
was like, "Oh, a good employee wouldn't take these days." Ridiculous.
I didn't have that problem. I always took my vacation days, but I also had that what's it called? Hang on, there's a factor for this. Imposter syndrome.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I have that in spades.
Mhm. Yeah, doc school really beat that into you too. It's really common amongst graduate students and doctoral students. And it's particularly weird when you're doing really well. Like, it was part of like my whole mental breakdown about it. It's because I was doing really well, but in my head I'm like, but really I should be doing better. Yeah, give me more projects. Give me more shit to do because and then you burn yourself out, which is unfortunately very common. It's the best students will often burn themselves out. You know, the people who do best in like doc and grad school. So why you have so many absolutely like brain dead moron PhDs, it's because they're the people who don't rock the boat. They are very sociable and they're yes men, and they just go, okay, yep, all right, and duck their head in terms of any responsibility, and they come out of it more or less psychically unscathed
Okay.
after 10 years of it, comparatively to people who are like super into it. And when I was in docs, I mean, I like worshipped the academy. I was so into the idea of being an academic. I thought it was the
Wow.
most amazing thing ever. Yeah, and then blew myself up over it, but so that worked out. But it is what it is.
Aydin, are you ready for some breaking news? I think Trump was just indicted.
For real.
For real. The unprecedented case against Trump will have wide-ranging implications. The Manhattan grand jury voted to indict Trump on Thursday for his role. Oh my God, this again. For his role in paying hush money to a porn star, according to 4 people with knowledge of the matter. A historic development that will shake up the 2024 presidential race and forever mark him as the nation's first former president to face criminal charges. Oh my God, the Dems are going to love this.
Okay, well, it's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
So, I mean, now it could be upgraded to a felony. It
says the felony indictment
he did
filed
upgrade it
under
to a felony.
seal by the
shit.
Manhattan District Attorney's Office will likely be announced in the coming days. By then, prosecutors working for the district attorney, Alvin L. Bragg, will have asked Mr. Trump to surrender and face arraignment on charges that remain unknown for now.
I'm pressing X to doubt on this. They've been doing this for a month.
Yeah. Mr. Trump has for decades avoided criminal charges despite persistent scrutiny and repeated investigations, creating an aura of legal invincibility that the vote to indict now threatens to puncture. His actions surrounding and this is what they want to get him for. His 2020 electoral defeat are now the focus of a separate federal investigation. Jesus. And a Georgia prosecutor is in the final stages of an investigation into Mr. Trump's attempts to reverse the election results in that state. Man, unlike the investigations that arose from his time in the White House, this case is built around a tawdry episode that predates Mr. Trump's presidency. The reality star turned presidential candidate who shocked the political establishment by winning the White House now faces a reckoning for hush money payment that buried a sex scandal in the final days of the 2016 campaign. Mr. Trump has consistently denied all wrongdoing and attacked Mr. Bragg, a Democrat, accusing him of leading a politically motivated prosecution. He has denied any affair with the porn star Stormy Daniels, who had been looking to sell her story of a tryst with Mr. Trump during the campaign. Here's what else you need to know. Mr. Bragg and his lawyers will likely attempt to negotiate Mr. Trump's surrender. If he agrees, it will raise the prospect of a former president with the Secret Service in tow being photographed and fingerprinted in the bowels of a New York State courthouse.
Wait, how are you going to hold him in a jail? Because he has to be, by law, it is a federal law that the president must be surrounded by Secret Service at all times. How are you going to put him? I know that the Democrats are salivating at this idea, but it's prima facie absurdist. The other thing that's, I think I figured it out, someone in the chat said this as well, and I talked about this last night on my stream, is that the reason they upgraded to a felony is because the statute of limitations for the misdemeanor is, I think, only 3 years. So they've upgraded to a felony literally only so they can try and still get him on this. And it's it paid her to shut up. She didn't shut up.
Yeah.
I played on the stream last night as well the great appearance of Dick Masterson on Dr. Phil.
I like him. He's so funny.
He's hilarious. Where he said, prostitution and alimony are the same thing. You're paying for the whore to leave. So.
That's great. That's a great joke. Damn. Maybe the Secret Service have to be in jail too. I don't know. The prosecution.
They gonna dress them all up in orange jumpies and have them all hang around, I guess.
Sounds like fun. Yeah, they'll all look like Hooters waitresses. Okay, the prosecution's star witness is Michael D. Cohen, Mr. Trump's former fixer. I thought they rendered him kind of, I don't know, because didn't the other guy testify and it made Cohen look?
Well, Cohen is the one who did it. It's his lawyer who did this, and so there's arguable, deniability that he didn't even know it was happening.
Right. Mr. Cohen said that Mr. Trump directed him to buy Ms. Daniels' silence and that Mr. Trump and his family business, the Trump Organization, helped to cover the whole thing up. The company's internal records falsely identified the reimbursements as legal expenses, which helped conceal the purpose of the payments. Although the specific charges remain unknown, Mr. Bragg's prosecutors have zeroed in on the hush money payment and the false records that created by Mr. Trump's company. A conviction is not a sure thing. An attempt
shit. Sorry, New York Times. Way to hedge that one.
This is the New York Times. An attempt to combine a charge relating to the false records with an election violation relating to the payment to Ms. Because they don't want to acknowledge the election shenanigans that have been going on for decades. Why would they want somebody to shine a light on that?
Well, not only is it like, again, they're upgrading it to felony just so that they can, try and slip this through on what is a misdemeanor. It's not even really a misdemeanor. It's extremely common. So Stormy Daniels signed an NDA with Trump that she wouldn't talk about their tryst, as the article calls it, which she's now said they never even had sex. So I don't even know. obviously she's not trustworthy. That's clear. So, for whatever happened between them, she signed an NDA, and Trump's lawyer paid her for it. That's not hush money. You chose to sign the NDA. In my opinion, at least, I don't think that's hush money. It's not that she was just paid and then sent on her way. She signed a legal document that she then broke and violated.
Yeah. Well, this is like New York Times, so they're of
Right.
course writing. They're writing what certain people want to hear. The vote to indict, the product of nearly a 5-year investigation, kicks off a new and volatile phase in Mr. Trump's post-president. Because you would read this as a Democrat or somebody in the legacy news, you'd be like, "Oh, that's it, he's done." Like, you'll just like lap this up. All the broadcasts tonight are going to be wild.
Oh, of course. But I mean, they've been doing this though. They've been trying to catch him on anything for 6 years, and it's not stuck. You know, the whole thing about this is, in my opinion, it is just it's journalistic pornography for the left.
Yeah,
right?
it really is.
This is just, they just go, oh yeah, arrest him, you know, and that's about it.
He will be fingerprinted. He will be
Any day.
photographed. He may even be handcuffed.
Whoa, I can't wait to see a picture of it. Did you? I mean, I'm sure you saw this a couple of weeks ago, or like a week or two ago, when the AI images of Trump being arrested went all over Twitter, and the left was just, again, they were salivating. They were you know, jerking off on these obviously AI'd images, because you know, you can't look at the hands. If you look at the hands for more than 1 second, and it's all wonky looking. But it was report on it now, because it makes us feel good. It gives me a positive emotional feedback rather than think about it. And the other thing about this is that if they do this, and I think that's probably, there are some people in the Democrat establishment who have like an above room temperature IQ and have maybe consulted with some social scientists to tell them, do not do this. If you do this, he will win in 2024. It is without a question, because it will create that thing, psychological reactance. It will tell the entire world, you can't vote for Trump. He's a criminal. It will show the entire world that this is what they will do. They will turn him into a martyr in a way that they've already tried. I mean, they raided Mar-a-Lago. You want to double down?
Yeah, meanwhile, Biden had how many classified documents in how many different places?
Ukraine. But, you know, let's not talk about that one, which is weirdly, we only sent them $100 billion.
It's very cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, bizarre.
It's crazy. Yeah, you're right, because to me, this just looks like, oh, they're just trying to get him for him daring to run and win as president. To me, that's what it's all about. They're still so fucking pissed he won, and they're like, let's just make him a criminal, because we still can't believe he fucking won and was president for 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, Chrissy. I think that's exactly it. They're furious that he won, and it's all about revenge and payback. It's very petty and childish. But I think that's it. He wasn't supposed to. He was a DC outsider. He's not part of the political class. How dare he? How dare you come in and interrupt our beautiful, you know, ivory tower?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 8 years of Obama, 8 years of Hillary. Ugh. What was their plan for after Hillary? Big Mike? Or was their plan for Biden? I don't know if their plan was ever for Biden.
No, I think Biden was a desperation pool because people loved Obama. I don't know why they did, because I don't know. I'm not a real big fan of drone striking kids. Trump did that once too, though. He did do some drone strikes, and then he stopped immediately, which was because he listened to his supporters who said, stop doing that. Don't ever do that again. And then he didn't do it again.
Wow.
You know,
so you just think this is all going to be good for him, whether he's actually arrested?
There's no legal basis for this. There's no legit. I'm not a lawyer. # not a lawyer. But you know, my vague understanding of the legal system, as much as it is that this is a misdemeanor. They're trying to upgrade it to a felony really desperately, just to get over the statute of limitations. And if they go through with it, I think it's all posturing, honestly, because I don't think they want to go through with this, because, like I said, if they do, it martyrs him.
Mm-hmm.
And it will invigorate his base to a way they've not been in many years.
Yeah, because then it will be a focus on it'll be a refocus on establishment versus not the establishment. Like even if you hate Trump, you still don't think of him largely as part of the establishment. Like there's some people that will be like, oh yeah, it was compromised. Oh, like, I don't know. I feel like it was more the people around him
Right.
were slowing him down.
And it would make a big sign to the American people that if the establishment, such as it is, dislikes you for any reason, they can bend and break the law to destroy you. And I don't think the average American is very fond of that.
Yeah. Especially after the average American is already real pissed at how much money we're giving to Ukraine, largely ignoring East Palestine, and
2 years in prison for the January 6th rioters or whatever you
oh
want to call
yeah,
them. Just one of them got released today. Was it the shaman? I can't remember who.
I think so. Which is amazing news. I was wondering what was going to happen to him because he was, I guess, committed or whatever. They had him going to be doing 4 years, and then all this new footage came out. So I guess, is he like out now? Let's see. Jacob Chansley released from prison 14 months early, moved to a halfway house. Okay, cool.
Well, the left has their own shaman now. I don't know if you saw it.
I've seen it. I saw it. Wait, let me read this really quick. So, released from prison 14 months early. Sentenced to 3.5 years in federal. He served just over wow, he was in there for 2 already.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since Gen 6. And a whole bunch of these people have been held without trial for over 2 years now without trial, which is a violation, in my opinion, of their constitutional rights.
Wow. I wonder if I can get him on the show. Jacob, if you're
awesome.
watching, interview you. I want to bring up you had a really funny tweet. Yeah, you were like, they have their own shaman, the trans shaman. I mean, this is a person in a
they're at Zimmer
costume, right?
I mean, they're literally in clown makeup.
What is this person doing? This looks like sad clown mixed with what's like the devil goat character.
Yeah, Lucifer.
What are these?
Well, dressed as like a weird clown priest.
Clown priest with anal beads. What a confused look. You're not gonna beat the QAnon shaman in terms of like branding and like,
come on.
He had the look. He looked great.
I mean, this was an attempt, I guess, but
this is so sad. He looks like he's about to get an X-ray taken at the dentist. What is this? A UV shield? What is this?
Yeah, he's got a bib.
Looks like the dentist had just to step out of the room and beep. No, you're not going to be. Jacob Chansley wins all the points because he in January went without a coat, shirtless, painted face, no coat. Not even like he's holding his jacket. He must have stuffed it in his bag. His friend was holding it. Fully committed, no coat, January, shirtless.
I'm from Baltimore. I know how cold it gets in January. In that swamp. It's awful. Also, my reaction is the reaction of that guy on the left holding the camera.
So cold. This guy right here.
Yeah, it's my reaction as well. Just like, amusement. Mild smiling.
Listen to trans kids. That's like listen to vegetarian cats. That's
exactly. Exactly.
Evil. I love picking apart like the signs that people make. I'm like, what was their thought? They're like, we're gonna write override veto, and then look, let me put evil at the top.
Well, how would you read this? Is it evil override veto or override evil veto? It's probably supposed to be that. But yeah, plan your sign out, dude.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate when people. My favorite thing is when they misjudge the space and they run out of space at the end. That's
I kind of love that. Whether they have to like put a couple letters like in the corner.
Yeah, it's like, oh wow, you just had that one piece of cardboard. Okay. This was at the die-in at the Capitol.
Oh, the die-in? Is that what they called it?
The die-in.
Wow. Don't not be melodramatic or anything.
Yeah. Oh look, a transurrection. That's so funny. Oh, that's
well, funny. I'm sure you've heard that the Nashville shooter has a manifesto that has been dubbed the Tranifesto.
Oh my god. Yes! The puns make it worth it, I think. Tranifesto. I'm Googling it.
Oh, it's not been released. The chief of police of Nashville said that they have a manifesto. Just the internet's been calling it that. It's not been released. They have since updated and said, I believe that they will release it when they're finished with their investigation, which I don't know how long that will take, but I would, of course, people on Twitter on the left are very, very adamant against posting it.
You're like, actually, it's a woman manifesto. Like, imagine being trans. You're like, I'd rather you not call it a manifesto, actually.
Yeah, it's you're misgendering the manifesto.
Ah! Wow. Holy crap. Oh, Most Melendez, thanks for the super chat. I've watched Aydin since the skeptic days. Hey, Aydin, do you still watch some of those guys? Some black guy used to be center and now seems more left. SMH.
Yeah, well, some black guy and I have kind of gotten in a couple like little trysts arguments on that word's now indelible to my hippocampus. But we've gotten into like a little like, arguments on Twitter. Some black guy went like, he's got TDS is the only way I can describe it. I have nothing against him, but I think because he seems like a nice guy. We used to talk, but occasionally, like on Twitter, like we weren't friends or whatever, but we used to talk on Twitter occasionally.
You were cool. Yeah.
Yeah, chill, whatever, like, again, not friends, but it's fine. And he hates Trump so much. There's a really good video I would recommend by a YouTube content creator called The Almighty Lolly. I know the name sounds very sus, right? But LOLI, The Almighty Lolly, who did like an 1.5 hour long documentary about his kind of descent into TDS that I think was actually quite, I don't know if it's quite that long, but I believe that it was a well-handled, well-done video on documenting what the hell is going on with some black guy.
This person? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it some black guy or just some guy? Am I getting them confused? I think I might be getting them confused. Some black guy. Are you doing
a lot of them look the same?
No, it's not that. Their names are really similar, and they both happen to be black, I think. But like, which is not my fault.
No, it's their fault.
There's also a dude called That Guy T, who's also a black creator, who I used to really like, but I haven't seen him on YouTube for years. I don't know what he's up to.
Wow. Yeah, it is.
Well, I do remember from the skeptic days, That Guy T, but yeah.
What were the skeptic days?
Like the 2016 era, 2017 era, when Sargon first kind of popped off, and a lot of those people who, well, I mean, it's been so long ago, and people who outside of my dad inspired me to do YouTube. But yeah, like God, how many of them are still around? The skeptic days. So skeptic on YouTube came out of something called New Atheism or Atheism Plus. And that was people like the Amazing Atheist, TJ Kirk, who is an absolute silly person on Twitter and really funny too. You see the things he says.
I thought Atheism Plus was an old streaming service that went under.
It was, but it was also like a movement or something, where it was like, we're atheists, but also we have political things going on. And yeah, TJ Kirk, Sargon of Akkad. I guess V has been around that long. I think so has Short Fat Otaku. Back in those days, it was people like Jeff Holiday, and I'm trying to think even who's even still left.
So before my time.
Yeah.
I feel like I just missed out on a whole like amazing YouTube time.
I don't know how amazing it was. It was very
more free. I mean, less censorship, I guess.
That's true. That part is true. You could, I mean, oh my God. Well, that was back when Ethan Ralph was on YouTube, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But I mean, he was allowed to be on
before
YouTube
he was brain damaged. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's before. I think like that's been an ongoing issue.
Okay.
I don't know.
Brain damage, not like Portugal brain damage. Yeah.
No, yeah, but yeah, before he got punched in the face. That was the first time he's been punched in the face now twice on camera. So
wow, what are the odds?
Yeah, I don't know. Try not to be like, I don't know, like one of the most unlikable.
He's a magnet. He is a magnet for drama and negativity.
Oh, he's Christian. He is Christian 2.0 in terms of just like inciting and inviting in the most crazy stuff. And Christian got out of jail the other day. Don't know if you saw that.
No.
She was released on bail. Yeah. Dang. Or someone paid her bail, right?
You're right. Okay, I have to, let's see. Oh, okay. Christine Chandler. I didn't realize that was the full name.
It's Kristen Weston Chandler, but Christine is the
released from jail on bond. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. August 20. Yeah. In August 21, arrested
Yep.
because of the incest thing with her mom. Okay. Wow. Wow. What is she going to do now? Work at Trader Joe's? Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, the question that's on everybody's minds is who paid the bail?
Yeah.
George
Barb
Soros. Well, Barb doesn't have the money. They're basically in default.
Wow.
I mean, they've taken out loans against their house, and I think they're in default on it. I'm not sure about that, so don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Somebody paid the bail. I would imagine it's the same kind of people who they love to watch Chris do crazy shit, and they're like, well, let's get him. Like nothing's happened. Nothing can happen that's interesting while Chris is in jail. So let's bail him out.
One big super chat. Yeah.
Essentially.
Lance, thanks for the super chat. On a scale from 1 to 10, how jealous are you, Aydin, that Chrissie has been on a show with the Alex Jones not once but twice?
Oh my god, 10. 10 is the highest. I love
on your to-do list.
Oh, I love Uncle Alex. He's
great.
He's such a interesting personality.
He's so interesting. He's like, I don't know. He just seems like a piece of history. He seems like these kind of guys that you meet, like I don't know, like a Roger Stone or somebody, where you're like, you are like a piece of history. Like you're just beyond knowledgeable. Just
right. He's like
so
a vault of knowledge. It was fascinating when he went on Rogan after Rogan had gotten a lot of kickback for having him on so many times, and Rogan was just clearly because he had been asked to. I think it's after he moved. Was it after he moved to Spotify? And Rogan was asked, basically just kept asking him questions. Well, what are you talking about, Alex? Where's your proof? Where's your evidence? And he can just
I remember that, where he was really holding his feet to the fire because he was like, he had just got dinged, I think.
It was phenomenal to watch that he's just got like this vault of knowledge in his head about all this conspiratorial crap. Which I mean,
for days. Yeah.
I'd love to.
He's such a fun guy. He just seems like, wow, it's so rare that you find somebody that is very smart, like knows a ton of history, but also be really fun to have a beer with. Like just the perfect and is hilarious.
That's a total dream. That's life goals is have a beer with Alex Jones. That would that's I'd be like, it's all worth it to have a beer with Alex Jones.
I did his show once, and then I was on a couple of like live streams with him. Like live streams is no fun, but to be like 7 feet away from him, like I was sweating. I mean, just because like
he's got to be overwhelming in terms of his energy.
His brain is just working. It's like his brain's working faster than mine, and it's like, he's just like he's just like, oh, like let's talk about this. And I had no idea like what he wanted to do for the show, and it was kind of like a last minute appearance, and I just was like, like I was super overwhelmed. But he's
awesome though.
Yeah. Ehaf, thanks for the super chat. Oh no, a criminal in the White House. How will we ever survive? We have no idea how to deal with a criminal politician in power. That's true. That will be a new thing.
The French didn't figure out any way of dealing with that.
Johnny Wary Sex, aka Juice Cannon, for $2.22. So that's like a lucky number. You ladies were great on FNT. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you.
That was so fun. Hey, Lance.
Oh. Lance is in my chat a lot as well. It's a little bit rude.
I think I have a lot of ADD. I'm very focused when it's like something like a comedic podcast where it's like a riff. Then it works pretty fast. But
that's your wheelhouse though. So you can like, I'm not the best at jokes. I'm not like, let's be honest, women.
Women. But yeah, on Alex's show, I was nervous because it felt more like a conspiracy pop quiz or something. I just was like,
I'm sure.
Oh my god, or like I had to quickly like recall everything I've learned in the last like 2 years.
Right. Yeah. Whereas he's got that all like he can bring it up in this incredible expedient manner. Well,
Plus, I'm like I was like so starstruck.
I know. I would have been freaked out.
Yeah,
I would have been freaked out if I had been sitting 10 feet away from Alex Jones. But that's why I was going to say though, because I'm bad at comedy. That's why my husband writes all of my jokes. I have a ghostwriter.
That's nice. That's good though. Gary Thomas, hey Aydin and Chrissy. Aydin, can you give Chrissy your best argument for constitutional monarchy as opposed to a democratic republic? This is perfect and sets us up perfectly to promote Aydin's podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Let me pull it up.
Yeah, I actually don't have to make the argument because it's in the video. I know the text flies by really quickly, but I was trying to do like a TikTok style video thing.
This is the Broken Crown podcast. Let's see. Anything to say before I play this video, or should I just let it rip?
It's gonna be, the text is gonna blast by really, really fast. So I apologize for that. I made it for Zoomers whose attention spans are like 5 seconds, but this is the argument against democracy and for monarchy.
Okay.
And this music's fine. It's not in trouble.
True. Okay, I will pause this because I am a little retarded and slow.
No, like I said, yeah.
So, you can fit more and people can pause it. Okay, democracy means whoever has the most power to shape the masses is king. Yeah, completely agree with that. The end result is always oligarchy, and a nasty one at that. I probably missed one.
No, that's it. This is the next one. Yeah. In the current system, oligarchs,
in the current system, oligarchs are not held responsible for their rulings. Yeah, no lies detected here. They shape society's flow and who the masses elect. They rule by proxy through politicians. Politicians take the heat and the decision makers get off scot-free. Yeah. Guilt is forced upon the masses as if they vote for what matters. Ooh. Yeah, we're very shaped by propaganda. Democracy breeds infighting and creates an us versus them mindset. It is not your nation nor your people, but a vague, nonsensical, modern ideology. This weakens the nation with an artificial division within nations rather than between them. The people at the top are not held responsible for any part of it. Yep. It is not their people. It is not their country. They simply direct the masses in whatever way nets the most personal gain. Oh, that's the truth. I mean, like we learned that during COVID.
I know. Well, COVID was the most mask off, ironically enough, that I think that the political establishment has ever been in the West.
Yeah.
And we control you.
Celebrities in Hollywood too. I remember seeing like, man, I wish I wasn't seeing what the inside of all your houses look like. Like, yo, you guys are doing great. Okay.
Right.
They have no interest in bettering the country or its people. Yep. The people at the top would not care even if they owned the country. Democracy is the biggest scam in human history.
I know, maybe a little bit far. The whole idea, though, basically is that when you have a monarch, you have one singular person, and more specifically, familial line that owns the nation, and therefore it is their responsibility. Generally speaking, people don't destroy their own property unless they're lunatics. Now, of course, there have been lunatic monarchs who have destroyed their own property because they're insane. There have been many insane democratic leaders as well, though. So, like, let's just be fair about it. Monarchy is not a perfect system. There is no perfect system of governance because people are not perfect. People are inherently flawed. However, if you want to have someone who is heavily incentivized to not destroy their own property for temporary personal gain, a monarchic system is preferable, in my opinion, than a democratic system. Even our founders, by the way, knew this. They wrote about it. They had extensive conversations about whether or not to make George Washington king of America. Wow. They weren't necessarily anti-monarchic. They didn't like the fact that the king was 3 months away in England and therefore had no direct concern over the United States, which is exactly the point of monarchy, is because it's your land and your people, and you have a concern over them, because if your people prosper, you prosper. And not just do you prosper, your family lineage prospers. Your children prosper. This is the natural state, in my opinion, of humanity, is based on family and based on lineage. We want to always help our children. And so the monarchical system reflects the natural familial system of human beings. We want to help our children, and so we don't want to destroy the things that we leave to them. Again, unless we're insane. But
that is really interesting, Aydin, because if you do look at how our politicians act, it's like take as much as you can while you can.
grab the
Fuck
bag.
everybody else. You look at all the insider trading going on. It's just like it's very okay. Even though there are some positions where we're like, oh, can we please get some term limits up in here? But it just seems like everybody in charge is out for themselves to make as much money and get as much power as possible. And then we're like, oh wait, aren't you supposed to like have a government job with a government salary? What are you doing with like all
Right.
this money and all this net worth?
And monarchy is a system that accepts that everybody's out for themselves. But in this case, you don't get to leave, right? Democratically elected officials, even if they get impeached, what's the, I mean, well, it's different in the case of Trump where they're trying to criminally prosecute him over nonsense. What is a loss to you? If you get elected to a position of power, say you're AOC, for example, you can just go and fuck around. AOC has spent her, 3 years now? Because I think she's up for re-election.
Wow.
3 years now in office. Has she spent any time in the Bronx doing anything for the Bronx? No. She has been gallivanting around at the Met Gala and other places, making a spectacle of herself. All for her own personal gain and attention, and does not, I, in my opinion, could not personally care any less about the people who live in her district.
So if we're basically in an oligarchy, how do you switch from an oligarchy to a monarchy?
This is the question I can't answer. Because it would be revolution. It would have to be. This is something that my co-host and I talk about all the time. Because our ideas come largely out of a couple of different sources. There's numerous of them. Jason Brennan, Mencius Moldbug, aka Curtis Yarvin, and specifically the one who is our biggest influence is a guy called Erich von Kuehnelt-Lenin, who was a Austrian aristocrat who was who fought in World War I and in World War II, I think, was writing in the 1940s, and wrote a fantastic book that I highly recommend to everybody. I can never over-recommend this book because it is free to read. It is called Liberty or Equality, and if you go to the Mises Institute, it is free to read. There is a PDF. It's in my head. I know, like a couple weeks ago, I said like, it's like 30 pages. It's like 400 pages, but it's so easy to read that I thought it was way shorter than it was.
Quick beach read,
Well, I also read, again, I talked about my experience in grad school. It's like 1,000 pages a week, and that's about what I would say I read in a week is like 1,000 pages. So my perspective on how long things are in terms of writing is warped.
Hold on. So how many is that a day? Hold on. I have a calculator right here.
I'm also
reading 142.5 pages a day. Holy on average. Shit. Yeah.
Well, it's also why my memory is shit, because you overload yourself a little bit. But you get used to it. Again, when you're in grad school, like it just becomes the norm. And it's not just people in grad school, good academics. And there are good academics. They're not all totally subsumed into the ludicrous nonsense of leftist political fantasy thinking. They all do that. Most of them do. They read academic journals, which are, you get an academic journal, it's a book. It's a giant, thick ass boy. They're usually released quarterly, but then like when you're subscribed to 20 of them, well, you've constantly got new research to read.
Wow.
And I love that about academia. It's one thing that I love is that there's always something new. There's always more research, which was the interesting thing about the Eliza Bleu stuff is because that virtuous victim effect is brand new. It was identified in 2020. No one had, I'm astonished that it took that long for people to figure out. Well, social science moves at the speed of smell and many times. Another thing that people aren't always aware of is that to move from, and this was the biggest red flag for me as someone who's conducted and published research, is that to go from having a hypothesis to testing it to then even just submitting it for IRB approval, which means that
what's IRB?
So you can't conduct the research, before you've done IRB approval, which is the Institutional Review Board. Every single university on the planet has an IRB, which basically assesses, is it ethical for you to conduct this research? The IRB was established and has been established across universities all over the world in response to specifically the Stanford prison experiment conducted by Dr. Zimbardo in, I believe, 1971, which you may be familiar with. That's the experiment where he put students and he said, these students, you're the prison guards, and these students, you're the prisoners. And within like 3 days, it fell apart and they were like going crazy against each other and totally had become subsumed into the roles. There's some questions about the accuracy of that reporting, but the IRB did exist at Stanford. There was an institutional review board. And Chrissy, let me ask you this question. If you could own anything, any piece of history, any object in the world, what would you want to own?
Oh, maybe like Tesla designs, the ones that were supposedly destroyed or snatched up. I don't know.
I kind of primed the question a little bit.
Any piece of history?
Mm-hmm.
The first vibrator. No, that's a really good question. Maybe I don't know, like a really old, like an early like Bible or something. Anything old.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, though, it's the IRB approval of the Stanford prison experiment, an original copy. That's what I want, because the Institutional Review Board of Ethics looked at the proposal for the Stanford prison experiment and went, "Yup, that's not unethical." That's it. I would frame it. I'd put a shrine around it, because it's so. People always talk about like, oh, unethical research. We have this IRB that's supposed to protect us from that. Well, the Stanford prison experiment was allowed for by the IRB. So, and I've actually spoken to Dr. Zimbardo, the guy who conducted that experiment, in emails, because he's still alive. And I've never asked him. I guess I could shoot him another email and be like, hey, Dr. Zimbardo, could you just send me a copy, but sign it, please?
Arigato, Zimbardo.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure this is something that's public. And tell me if I'm like a twisted person for being curious about this, but like what they did, part of me wants to know, maybe part of me doesn't want to know, but like what they did to people in the Holocaust, like what kind of like,
oh God, twisted,
like, but not to know for like to be gross, but like the psychology behind why, or like what they thought they were looking for.
Oh, well, or 741 is that the name of the Japanese group, the governmental group? I always get the number wrong, but those are the ones who like did horrifying experiments on prisoners.
Wow.
I guess like if you believe you're racially superior to somebody, and this is actually where we get into very dangerous elements now. If you believe you're morally superior to another person, then why would it not be ethical to do horrible things to them? And I really see the left moving in that direction, which is what's very scary.
Yes. Especially, oh my God, there's been so many examples of this, like after the shooting, like, well, they're equating speech to violence, which means in turn they can respond with violence. And they're like, well, it's all the same because your speech is violence when it comes to the T squad. So
right. And they
can justify it.
It's been very scary to see. Well, this all comes in the fact that I believe on the 1st, which would be really ironic on April Fool's Day, but I think it's on the 1st that there's supposed to be this trans day of vengeance.
Yeah, they really should have picked a different day.
It might be on the 2nd, but if they did pick April 1st, that is kind of ironic.
That's great.
I actually let me look it up. Like, say, Trans Day of Vengeance.
Isn't that every day though?
I mean, they've told
that's a
these
tweet.
people.
I'm gonna tweet that. It's probably not gonna do well.
They've told these people, the transgender people, that they are being genocided for years, and that what constitutes genocide is not being able to do drag shows in front of kids, and not, oh, it is on April 1st. Holy shit, it is. There's tomorrow. It is tomorrow, right?
Oh wow, yeah. No, that's tomorrow's the 31st. So Friday.
Wait. So right on Saturday, they're supposed to assemble outside of SCOTUS. It says wear a mask, of course. Now, I think that's not because of COVID. That's to avoid identification. Which is, whoa, what a curious coincidence that mask wearing under COVID also allowed people to get away with more crimes because they were less easily identifiable. Just a coincidence, though, I'm sure.
Right. Whoa. Do not tweet about it? All right, fine. I'll delete it. Okay, deleting it.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
too. I do. I think it's probably a good move because it's these
You
people
guys
are
always
really
right.
they're
Chat is
really
always right.
activated right now as well.
Yeah.
They're very angry and they're very, let's be honest, violent.
Yeah.
And big tech has their side.
True.
It's not only that they have been told that they are being genocided, this particular group of people has been given. Let me put it this way: when they go down and they throw shit at Posey Parker in New Zealand, right, and they physically assault people while shouting "trans rights are human rights," what right are you lacking? That's
right. Are you unable to get a job? That's a you problem. That's like you're not presenting the way you present, or you don't have the background or experience necessary for that job. Because you certainly like look good on paper, right? You have every advantage as being part of a victim group or minority group, right? So
you're the trans group has been elevated to a degree that is so. And this is why it's insidious. So a couple of years ago, I think in 2014, it was published. There was a study called Rapid Onset Gender Dysphoria. And it has been retracted from the academic record because I'll get into why. It's very curious as to why it was retracted. But what this study found is that the second that a young girl in particular had a transgender friend at school, the likelihood that she would become transgender went up exponentially. Having one trans friend. Women, this is not to, be rude or whatever, but it's just the truth, are more susceptible to social contagion than are men. Because we want to be like other girls and be popular, obviously. I mean, to a certain degree, particularly the young girls in high school, right? You want to be popular. I've obviously been a weirdo nerd.
You're at your most insecure. You're at your most like, oh, with my friends. Like, what's this book? It's one of the few books I actually finished, which is why I can't stop talking about it. It's the Irreversible Damage book. Abigail Schreier.
Irreversible Damage. Yeah. Fantastic book.
Yeah.
And they're really they're at like the most vulnerable point in their lives. When again, as a young girl, when you reach that age, like stuff that's happening to your body. Like, look, things are happening to males' bodies as well. But stuff that's happening to the female body when you hit puberty is, I think, probably way more extreme in terms of its implications. Like, you start growing stuff, and you start bleeding. Like it's way more extreme than getting
more in your
boners.
face. Yeah,
than getting a boner. And obviously, a lot of girls feel very uncomfortable with that, totally logically, because it's like, well, I never had to deal with this before, and you're becoming more cognizant because your brain is starting to become. You're not an adult in any way, but your brain is starting to develop to a point where you can recognize how weird it is. And then someone comes to you and says, "Hey, not only do you want to," this is another thing, right? Were you bullied in high school in any degree, or I don't know?
No, not really. I was like challenged to one fight, but then she never showed up. So
what a bitch. Literally.
Damage can equal. I needed to prove myself.
Pussied out. Literally. But a lot of young girls and boys, but kids in that age are being bullied really badly. It's a normal process of growing up, unfortunately. A lot of kids get bullied. And then you tell that kid, particularly a girl, this is where we find this excessive amount of young children who are coming out as trans are females or biological females. Hey, not only are all the feelings that you're feeling actually because you're trans and not because you're just going through puberty, but if you identify this way, you get to bully everybody.
Yeah, you're right. No matter what. You get the most attention, most authority.
No teacher can question you. No student can question you. You're in charge now. Wow, I wonder why that would be,
such an attractive option for people.
Attractive to young kids.
Powerless and awkward. Yeah. Yeah. It's an
And it's
immediate
sad, but
free pass.
that's why I think that's why we're seeing the uptick that we're seeing, particularly in young women. Is that and in young men as well, because either way, it's well for young men. Like if you're a white male in the United States, you are the lowest on the totem pole in terms of social media cred and stuff. Hey, want to be popular, and everyone will kiss your ass because if they don't, they're a bigot.
Yeah, it's a get out of awkwardness free card. It's a get out of powerless free card. It's everything. Wow. It's a get out of reproducing free card.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the scary and sad part, but I can see why it's so attractive to young people and acting as if they'll get very upset, like people like me who say that it's a social contagion effect, and other social psychologists who are saying like I'm just a social, like I'm a communication scholar, like I'm not I have no capacity to diagnose anybody with anything ever. It's not my field, but even I can see it. So. And when everyone's saying like this is probably why this is happening, maybe we should start to listen to the scientists who are actually talking to these kids and figure out why it's happening. Oh, that rapid onset gender dysphoria study was retracted because they spoke to the parents and not to the children themselves, and it was said that that's not fair. It's not okay. You can't just report on parents saying like within a month, my daughter of meeting this other trans person became trans, started identifying as trans themselves.
Wow.
And I don't think that was a good reason to retract the paper, but even in 2014, that was haram.
Wow. Yeah, just think about how old you were at that age. Like we all had a friend, like, oh, I'm gonna wear my hair like her. Oh, we're gonna like wear the same outfit. We're gonna we'll get the same bag. All of it.
Oh, I did that shit. Every girl does that stuff. Is you have like at least in my experience, I had like the friend who was weird but cool. She was weird and cool. So yeah, I wanted to dress like her. And
Who were you in high school?
Oh, well, I went to a very weird high school. I went to Baltimore School for the Arts, which is, I think normal high school lasts from probably like 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something around that.
Normal high school, I think it's like 7:30 to 3:30 or something like that. 2:30.
Well, mine went from I think about like, again, I don't know because I didn't go to normal high school. I went to weird high school. Which went from probably, I think about, 7:30 to 6. And the first half of the day, depending on what grade you were in, one half of the day was devoted to arts and the other half of the day was devoted to academics.
That sounds nice.
It was weird. It was different. And by arts, I mean, like I was a visual artist, major, whatever you want to call it. And so by the time that you're a sophomore, when you go to drawing class, you have a nude model in front of you.
Wow.
So the time that you're 14, there's a nude person in front of you. They're not doing anything sexual. I mean, they're just sitting there being nude so you can sketch the human body. It's
wow.
It was weird.
I was watching something, I guess in the Netherlands, they had these people, like trans people going in front of kids, like they were young, like grade school kids, like just like basically in all states of nakedness, like pointing and explaining all their shit. And it made me feel so good. I felt euphoric when I had my breasts removed. And I'm like, oh my God, how is this not brainwashing?
It clearly isn't. I think I'm in a unique position to talk about it because I went to that school where I first saw nude people. And there's in the arts, we're always very clear. There's a difference between nakedness and nudeness or nudity. Nakedness is the absence of clothing. It means that there's something that's been removed because of perversion or whatever. Nudeness is the natural state of the human body. So if they're teaching us about anatomy, they want to have a nude model. It was never sexual. One of the things that is funny though about it is that sometimes men will get spontaneous erections. We know this, right? Like it can happen for no reason.
If the date's going well, yes.
But it can't happen. I'm sure that the dudes in the audience can know. Like sometimes, like you're not thinking about any, but particularly because if you're a nude model, you have to sit there in the same position for 4 hours, and just sit there. And so sometimes your mind wanders. And I remember one time, like I was in a drawing class. I was probably a junior, and one of our male models got an erection in the middle of it just happened. It wasn't sexual. It just happened, and our drawing teacher came over and threw a towel over it. So,
Wow.
it was just a very different experience for most people. But I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with nudity if it's in an artistic sense, with children being exposed to it. Nakedness and sexual perversion, however, is a very different thing.
Yeah. Did you feel at whatever age you were like, oh, I'm not supposed to be seeing this? Like, I remember my
It's very
first
weird.
few times of like, I don't know if I saw porn or what it was, but I remember
Right.
being I guess a kid, definitely like younger than 18, and like that feeling of like, oh, I'm not supposed to be seeing this. Like, oh, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know, you just know that feeling. Like, even I remember like my couple of like first early experiences with guys, like 14, 15. Like, I'm definitely not ready to do this, but here we go. I guess it's happening. So, yeah, not a great feeling.
I remember. I think seeing porn really fucked me up for a while, actually, because I was exposed to pornography when I was probably like 12. Just from being on the internet, and I was a very internet person. And I think that really screwed me up. And that's why I'm very anti-porn now. I agree with Brittany Venti on that 100%.
That totally makes sense.
I'm just many years. I used to be very pro porn, but then I realized that it was actually a really bad thing, and I don't think it's good for people. Ultimately, by the way, I have no problem with, again, nude modeling. That's fine because it's the natural state of the human body. There's nothing shameful about the human body. We did have this one model though, who we called Bats, and she only worked there for, I'm going to say, like, I think she did 2 sessions with us. So when you're drawing, there's 2 things you do. It's called a sustained pose and then gestures. So a sustained pose is when the model sits there in the same, or sits there or stands there, or just whatever, without moving for hours at a time so you can draw them. Gestures are used as kind of a warm-up. So you can like get the movement and action of the body very quickly. We had this one woman who was like this, like, in her 50s, very hippie-ish woman.
Looking for a fun time.
Full bush. Full bush, full pit hair. Like, she didn't shave anything. And she did these, so like a normal gesture pose would be like, pretend like you're throwing a javelin or something,
Okay, yeah.
That's that kind of stuff. Was
she like kind of spread eagle or something?
She was spread eagling. And
I feel like that's her own creativity. Like that's her own freestyle there.
She only worked there for like 2 weeks for a reason, and we all called her Bats.
Ew! How old were you when this woman was there?
Probably 16, and we all expected bats to fly out of her cave. You know what I mean?
Yuck.
She'd had several children, so it was a bit gaping.
You're like, we can see exactly where they came from.
Right, yeah.
Jeepers. Okay, apparently this is just in. Trump put out a statement. This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. He put out a statement today. Wow. From the time I came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower, and even before I was sworn in as your president of the United States, the radical left Democrats, oops, it went away. The radical left Democrats, the enemy of the hardworking men and women of this country, have engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great Again movement. You remember, just like I do, Russia, 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 the Mueller hoax, Ukraine, 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 impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2, the illegal and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid, and now this. The Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with the trying to get Trump, and now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in the act of blatant election helping. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades, including spying on my campaign. Yep, but weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just so happens to be a president of the United States and by far the leading Republican candidate for president. Has never happened before, ever. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who was handpicked and funded by George Soros, is a disgrace. Rather than stopping the unprecedented crime wave taking over New York City, he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murders and burglaries and assaults he should be focused on. This is how Bragg spends his time. I believe this witch hunt will backfire massively on Joe Biden. The American people realize exactly what the radical left Democrats are doing here. Everyone can see it. So our movement and our party, you can really hear his voice too when you read this. Our movement and our
His
party
random
united.
capitalization of things also, I think, helps.
I love it. It's like you're getting a text from him.
Yes,
United
exactly.
and strong. We'll first defeat Alvin Bragg, then we will defeat Joe Biden. We're going to throw every last one of these crooked Democrats out of office so we can make America great again. Oh wow. Maybe he's happy this is happening. Maybe he can use this to his advantage.
Well,
I don't know.
like
I
I
wonder how
said,
he feels.
if they do in fact arrest him, he will win in 2024. I don't think it's a question. I'm not saying that because I'm a political scientist. I'm saying that because I'm a social scientist, and it will make him into a martyr. It will make people feel pity for him, and it will make people afraid that if they don't vote for him, then they could be put in jail next, as January 6th stuff has already illustrated.
Yeah, and this what's it called? The act, what's it called? It's not the Resist Act. It's the friggin' the TikTok ban thing.
Oh, but that bill is terrible. Did you look at it?
No.
Oh, it's got all this other random crap put into it to
The
basically
people I
allow them
like
to.
tell me it's terrible.
Yeah, well, okay, so
It's on my summer reading list. No,
Yeah.
I'll get to it.
it's nonsense. It's government overreach as it always is, which I find to be incomprehensibly repugnant. We're going to use this ban on TikTok to try and spy on you more, to try and curtail your freedoms more. Yes,
You get in
it's
trouble
Patriot
for a
Act too.
VPN. They can maybe take over your Ring camera. That's insane to me.
It's ludicrous. This is. I talked about this on my podcast last night with my co-host. Is that it almost feels like this stuff is being used, and I think like that, obviously what happened in Nashville is incomprehensibly nightmarish, but I feel like it's going to be used by the Republicans even for them to push for anti-gun legislation, which is. You're not supposed to do that, but I feel like they're going to do it, or they're going to ask for more background checks, which is already all kinds of background checks. Like I can't own a gun in the United States because when I said that, I had a mental health crisis in grad school. Well, I was in a mental hospital. I go to a mental hospital for a suicide attempt. This is 6 years ago. Like,
how was the food?
Oh, fucking awful.
Man.
Well, I was in a hospital. I was in the hospital for 3 months back in 2020 because I got so sick after having COVID that I lost like 30 pounds, and more than that, probably 50. So it's like 70 pounds, and I.
You weighed 70 pounds? No, you lost 70 pounds.
No, I weighed 70 pounds, and I nearly died. It was crazy, but yeah, like I got after I had COVID, all food, just the smell of it would make me feel sick. So I just didn't eat for months. I don't know if it was 50 because I don't know how much I weighed. I probably weighed like 100 and I was gonna say I probably weighed 120 pounds and I was 70. So yeah, it probably was like 50. But if you don't eat ever, if you don't eat at all, you lose weight really quickly. So
that's and the anorexics say, yeah.
But you don't notice.
I just can't do
it. But like when the smell of food is making you sick, you don't notice that you're like wasting away. And what they said is that I actually had a hole in my brain, and that I told my husband I'd be an invalid and I would never recover. I did. I mean, I am an invalid. I am a bit brain dead, but that's just I've always been that way.
You seem fine to me. You're.
But it was scary as shit. And hospital food sucks though. Don't know if you can avoid being in a hospital.
And nothing, even if I couldn't stand, like, because I remember when I had COVID, I couldn't smell or taste. But still, you have like texturally things are fun. Like pudding is still fun. Whipped cream, I guess. I don't know. Jello.
It's just the smell of anything made me sick. And all I did, because the one thing that did make me sick was liquor. And so I was not eating. I was just all my calories are coming from booze. And it causes something called Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, which is
Wernicke-Korsakoff.
Yeah, close enough. That's it.
Wanky. No. That's crazy. I feel like a lot of my calories come from booze, but that's just being a comedian, I guess.
Well, right. But it's fucked up. To this day, I have no feeling in my feet. I have complete numbness because I used to have no feeling in my hands. I got that one back.
You poor thing. Oh my
Oh,
God.
don't be sad. But I did it
I
to
am
myself
sad.
at
This
the end of
sounds
the day.
very like I've never heard of anybody having this like after COVID. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was. Well, we got COVID really early because there was a air a bunch of there's a bank here, HSBC. I live in the UK, on a tiny island in the UK, and there's a big bank here. A lot of banks want to put headquarters or things here because it's a tax haven, so everybody wants to bank here. And a bunch of people from China came over who had COVID. And this is like I think COVID. The first cases were in March of 2020. This was in March of 2020. And a bunch
Wow.
of Chinese people came over who had COVID to meet with the bank. And so we got it, the first strain, and we got it immediately before anyone even knew what it was.
You probably literally passed patient 0 in the halls, and that's probably how you got it. Dang.
Essentially, right?
Probably patient 1 and 2. Yeah. That's crazy though.
It was weird. Again, it's been years now, but it's nuts.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely got like the 2nd or 3rd tier version.
I've had it since then. I think most people have. Well,
Yeah.
who knows even now? Because like there's no such thing as the common cold anymore or influenza.
Right.
Anytime you get sick, it's like, oh, it's COVID. Even if I take the PCR test or whatever, and it doesn't say it's COVID, people say like, well, it's COVID. Is it? I don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy. Dang. Wow. You've been through so much. Ruben Christopher Haynes, what is the name of the study? Do you have a copy?
Of rapid onset gender dysphoria.
Rapid onset gender. Okay.
You will be able to find it on the internet if you go to Google Scholar. Let's see if I can find it right now. Type in rapid onset gender dysphoria. It has been retracted, so when you find it, oh shit, it's a critical commentary on it. Can you find the actual study anymore? Oh, it's all just criticisms of it. Because like I said, the study was retracted and they got very mad about it.
Wow.
Ruben
Ruben is smart. He'll find it somewhere. Maybe it's on eBay. Gently used.
I guess there's like studies. There's like a Wikipedia article about the controversy.
A thing about the thing. Johnny mumbles, Trump is so gangster, he'll put his mugshot on a t-shirt and sell it in his merch store. I would buy that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna maximize it. Good for him. I hope he does make merch.
It is here on I'll post it in the chat. You will have to pay for it, unfortunately, but all you need to do is take the DOI. Actually, hang on, let me just do this so no one has to do it. So I can find you the actual article without having to pay for it. Yeah, hang on. Here it is. Oh, this is the abstract. Is this correct? Onset of gender dysphoria. Yes, it's in here. It is in this. This is the actual full article. Here you go.
Cool.
For free.
For free. Okay, this is not a super chat, but I thought it was an interesting comment. Love your brain, Aydin, but good luck convincing me top-down governance is better than a constitutional republic governed by the people.
I've seen TJTK in my chats before. I think it's fine. I'm not telling people what to do, which I think is kind of the difference between myself and what my coach and I do when we talk about monarchy versus a lot of people. We're offering an alternative perspective. We're not telling people what to do or how to think or how to believe. It's just like, hey, have you considered this?
Yeah,
that's it.
It's exploring it.
Right. I don't like to tell people how to think. I'm a libertarian at heart. I always have been a libertarian. I still consider myself to be a libertarian monarchist, which I know sounds very silly, but it does make sense. It does make sense.
Super niche. Yeah. I bet there's like 5 libertarian monarchs.
There's a couple of us. There's dozens.
I'm not being sarcastic. I read it in a sarcastic voice. Okay, that's just that's my voice I use for everybody. Don't worry. Okay. It's so interesting. In a nutshell, your Eliza Blue video, very, very interesting. This idea of a virtuous victim. I was pretty dismayed by everything because Brittany Venti is a friend, and
Yeah.
I was just like, the internet was so hot on the story for a good 6 weeks, and then it was like, oh, I guess nothing's happening. I don't know what we
Yeah.
thought would happen. She kind of dropped out of the Minds event, but I
She's
mean,
back. She's still tweeting.
she's still probably, I'm sure, doing appearances. She'll probably go wherever they'll have her. So I don't know, maybe put a dent in her wallet, but I don't know. It's just kind of upsetting.
It was one of the I got a couple comments on my YouTube video that said like, this is really late.
Wow, really? When did
took
you
me
put it
2 months.
out? Let me see.
8 days ago.
Okay.
It took 2 months to put it together. Like, this is not meant in offense to you or anybody else, but it's because I stream as well. I do a podcast. It's, one thing to like go on and just talk about something with other people and while it's happening. It's another thing to put together a fucking documentary. And I know that Fair and Balanced was planning to do one and certainly
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what. I haven't heard from her in a while. I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
talked
feel like
about it.
I feel like I don't know. It might be too late.
She might have had the
even
same
her.
opinion as those people of being like, well, it's been too long. But I don't. The thing is with people like this is you need to expose them and you need to keep exposing them because otherwise they will allow the ticking of history to bury the reality of the story.
Wow. Yeah.
That's what she's done her entire life, by the way.
I feel like that's what a lot of our like elite do, basically.
Yes,
that same
exactly.
tactic. Or just creating new news on top of the old news, hoping that they bury the stuff they don't like.
Exactly. And that's what Eliza Blue in particular has done her entire life. Is she adopts a new identity, she wears it out until it's done with its usefulness, and then she adopts a new one. And right now, well, and this is, I think, really the time's ticking on this one, this survivor identity and being a conservative, because my guess is that because the conservatives are kind of done with her and no one on the conservative side probably wants anything to do with her anymore after she was exposed, is she's going to go become a far leftist.
Yeah.
Go
kind of
hit
like
the bread tubers.
What I think Carlin Borisenko does, or jumps back and forth, like, oh, she was super far left, and now she was right. Oh, now I'm canceled by everybody, and she's like another professional victim.
Felt weird about that because I've had very pleasant conversations with Carlin.
Oh, really? That's good.
In the past, but I know that she's kind of infamous now for doing that, for jumping around. And well, she did. I mean, obviously, she did the like, I went to a MAGA rally and it was amazing. That's like what kind of got her a lot of mainstream, it's in the right popularity, and then has flip-flopped a bit back and forth. I don't know.
She was better at dealing with people who disagree with her. I just feel like she seems to be big on burning bridges, or if someone she was friendly with has a difference of opinion, she's like, it just seems like she's like, burn it down. Like, it's, I don't know. It just seems like kind of a volatile person, and she's treated some of my friends really poorly. And
yes.
Yeah.
She's treated a lot of people really poorly. And that actually was the inciting impetus, because I was working on a video that I'm now back to working on, which is about the video is temporarily called Creating Monsters. And it's how there's a bunch of research that illustrates if you just give someone a very vague description of a group of people, you say these people are greedy or these people are arrogant, the person who hears that will create inside of their own minds entirely fictional narratives about what that group of people did. Like, oh, I bet they did this and I bet they did that they were not told about whatsoever. They just make, yes, it's the mere thought effect that I talked about earlier. It's called the mere thought effect. The vast majority of this research, it's quite new in terms of it being more studied in detail. And it's Dr. Becker is her name, is the main scholar behind it, I believe. Tesser is the original. It's Tesser and Conley, and Tesser and Leone are the initial scholars, what we call seminal. But this woman, Dr. Becker, who got her PhD in this, has published a good deal of research recently studying this mere thought effect, which is that if you just say like, hey, that group of people over there who like Trump, well, they're also
racist,
violent, and racist.
white
And then-
supremacists, all the
and
things.
Then what will happen is when people hear that, they don't need any other information. They'll just go through and create it in their heads. And then how do you think you end up with people like the Nashville shooter, right? Someone who has created a completely false version of reality in their head because they think they're being genocided based on
Wow.
very little functional information. The data on this are, you can see Tesser is cited there, but Becker is the woman who got her PhD in, I think, 2017, who has been focusing on this. Again, it's brand new data.
Wow, it seems like common sense. I'm just going to read this because I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if
know.
people can see it. And I can't really zoom on this. Mere thought of fact, just thinking about something makes it seem more significant and important. This leads us towards increasingly more extreme attitudes. Oh my God, Waffles is barking at something.
Oh,
More extreme attitudes as the item fresh in the mind seems bigger, and in contrast, other things seem smaller. In this way, mere thought creates polarization of attitudes. When people have long enough to muse about something, the mere thought effect may be reversed as their continued reflection and consideration of alternative acts to balance out the effect, reducing the polarization effect. This is like exciting, but at the same time, like, oh my
Horrifying,
gosh, our
right?
people are so easily led. Like, makes you want to reevaluate all of your beliefs.
I'm kind of shocked I had never heard about this until quite recently, but I think it's because one thing that often happens in social science is that someone will have discovered something in the 1970s, and then it's like, okay, well, that's settled, quote, settled science, and then nobody looks at it again until now, essentially. So that this theory basically went uninvestigated for 40 years.
Wow.
Until very recently, it's been reinvestigated by this one particular woman, Kaylee Decker, Dr. Kaylee Decker, who published her PhD thesis in it and has published, I think, now 4 different studies on it.
Wow. That's crazy. I can't believe this is a new area of
It's weird, right?
of research. It just seems like, oh God, like the power of suggestion. Ah.
It was the same thing with the virtuous victimhood effect. That was really only studied in the late 2010s and early 2020s. And you would think that would be something that people had been studying for decades, but it wasn't. That this idea that people would use victimhood as a way to garner resources for themselves. I think there's a reason why it came into prominence in the 2020s as being interesting again, because
It's like the opposite of what should be going on in nature. Like, you think the strongest and smartest people are the ones who are able to get the most resources for themselves. But now it's like, oh, I'm the biggest victim. I'm the weakest. I'm the dumbest, slowest. I'm the transist, whatever.
But it's because humans are designed as we're a social species. So we do want to help the weakest in society. Of course, we always do. And then certain people, particularly people who are high in, let's say, Machiavellianism, or who are people who are histrionic and borderline in terms of their psychosocial profile, will go, oh, I know how to abuse that. I know absolutely how to abuse that. Yeah. And you do find people like Amber Heard is, of course, the most famous example. Amber Heard was diagnosed with both histrionic and borderline personality disorder, and by one of the psychologists. I forget which one it was. Dr. Curry. And she certainly is emblematic of the virtuous victim effect. I am always a victim all the time. If I do something wrong, it's not because I'm a bad person. It's because I must, because I'm a victim. And it never ends, right?
Yeah, and my trauma, and I am forever off the hook. How convenient. Must be nice.
Yeah, Eliza Blue fucked up on that one, pulling this shit right after when Amber Heard was fresh in everyone's minds.
Wow. Because we're all like, who would lie about such a thing? Who would lie about being a victim of this?
She lied to your face, Chrissy, which is incomprehensible.
I digital face. Yes.
Digital face, but
I had around 3-4 times or something.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm like such an idiot. I'm like, I didn't even think to ask her like any kind of probing question about like, so what was the transaction like of the sale of yourself, And
there was one clip from one of the times that you had her on that I didn't even come across until really late in my research that I ended up, it's like really late in the video, where I can't remember what she said now because, sorry, this is the memory thing again. Like once I'm done with it, I'm like done.
I know, I'm going to rewatch it. Yeah.
But
she said something to you that was so utterly absurd and bizarre, basically lying about her past, and it was really ludicrous to me to see how, to me, it's incomprehensible for someone to just be able to lie to somebody else like that so brazenly.
Yeah, she was at her always. I mean, of all the appearances I've seen of her, she's always at her best when she's talking about Twitter or trends or other people. When it's about her, especially if she's
all of a sudden,
if it's
mum's
suddenly
the word.
all of a sudden about her, then oh god, she gets very triggered.
Don't ask me any questions. That's always very telling. Yeah, of course she has lots to say about Twitter. I think it's horrifying that Ella Irwin is still ahead of Twitter trust and safety after that. She was not given any kind of repercussions for essentially shielding this woman from criticism.
Yeah, everyone on Twitter was like, now I can't whistle all of a sudden, but like just I don't know. They're like, let's just ignore it and hope it goes away. I guess that's what happened.
Right. It wasn't. There was somebody who was. I was on a random, not a random stream. I was a stream with a very, very small YouTuber yesterday, and in the morning, and there was this person who I did recognize from Twitter, but I was like, oh, okay, I recognized the avatar a little bit and the name, but this is no being a humble brag. I said at the time, but like, I'm sorry, sometimes I don't know, I don't remember like who people are if I've interacted with you on Twitter once, you know. And he was just what I realized about this person, and I remembered, is that he was just an enormous Eliza Blue simp, and has said that me talking about her and anyone talking about her in a negative light is promoting sex trafficking. Well, one of the things that I did is that for my video's premiere, any super chats that people gave went towards an anti-trafficking organization.
Yes, we did that too. We did that like twice. One was hilariously the live count of her Twitter following going down, that we all went to. We had 2 different charities, and then another one was like a live stream.
I raised like $300 for that charity, which is, I mean, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's substantial for them to. How much money?
Yeah, when has Eliza ever done that? When has Eliza ever been like, yeah, all my Hotep Jesus super chats are not going to me. They're going to go to me.
And I tell you what that can pay for. It's for me to get internet at home.
So icky. Even if you're not a survivor of anything, what an icky thing to say. Like, how just gross.
What is that super chat money going to pay for? It's going to pay for me. It's going to, because I'm a survivor, and that way I can buy internet at home while the Wi-Fi router is sitting behind her ass. Fucking unbelievable.
I'm like, just hotspot, bitch. We all do it.
Bruh, for real. Ludicrous, insane shit. I don't know how she didn't. I don't know how she is still just tweeting regularly, acting like nothing happened.
Yeah, how she doesn't feel like, I'm so sorry for the people, for like the fans. There were so many hurt fans of hers. There were so many people who were, different kinds of victims who felt like they could trust her, and it told them, various parts of their story or on her locals or whatever. Like, you don't feel embarrassed that you hurt these people's trust and maybe their ability to trust someone else in the future? Like, none of that. No sympathy, no empathy.
Well, because it's all about her all the time, right? Again, histrionic narcissist. I don't think she's narcissistic. I think she's got histrionic and borderline. In my opinion, again, not a clinical psychologist.
But you're the closest thing we all have, so I believe it.
I went through it with the, I know how I've read the DSM-5 like a billion times, but so I went through it. Just when I saw the stuff she was doing, the things that, and also, sorry, I'm trying to like keep my train of thought together. I am a little bit concerned that maybe I pissed off Tim Pool. I hope that I didn't, because I didn't say anything negative about Tim in that video.
Girl, I was supposed to go on more recently to talk about it, and I think apparently his crew, or like they said,
it's Cassandra.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that a differing opinion on Eliza has to be the thing that keeps you from coming on the show again, which the two things should not be related. Like, your opinion on one person or issue should not put you in a black box of never to be booked again. But I think that might be where I'm at because of my opinion on the Eliza Blue stuff.
I'm worried about
Unfortunate,
that
but I
as
was just trying to stick up for
well.
my fucking friend. Like.
Well, this is the thing that, like, again, I was working on the video that I just described, the creating monsters, that the idea of people where they literally make shit up in their heads. I was working on that video 2 months ago. Then the Eliza Blue shit happened, and I basically went, well, I can keep working on this video, which I'm going to do no matter what. But then as it kept happening and kept getting worse, and even if they're not people I consider to be like we're not friends, but it's people like you, Chrissy, it was people like Brittany Venti, who I like, right? Who I respect, who are being targeted and taken down by this, and people who I would consider myself friends with, like the Quartering, who are getting in Yellow Flash, who are being attacked and taken down and shut down by this fucking woman. I was like, okay, well, now you get a video, bitch. Like, and by that I mean, and it's not gonna say, I mean, you.
Right.
I really
That's
hope,
what motivated me too. Like, yeah, now I want to go deep because this is really unfair.
I really hope that anytime she fucking posts anything on Twitter, that somebody posts my video in response to her, because and I have seen it already happening a little bit, because like it's definitive. It's people could make a better one, but like that's a nail. It is the final nail in her fucking coffin for
Aydin,
ludicrous shit.
This is from David. Aydin, your last video hits like a semi truck after that.
That's what it was intended to do. It's why it took me 2 months.
Wow.
It's because it was intended to be anytime that Eliza Blue goes out on the internet and talks some shit, post this fucking video so people can see who the fuck this woman is. And it's not because, like, if she was just some lying loser on the internet, I wouldn't give a shit. You fucked with my friends and people who I like, and that's what motivated me.
It's such a horrible precedent. It's like, wow, it just, okay, more of the same. It's all about who you know. Different rules for depending on who
I guess I guess in that way it's not fair that like that was the motivating factor for me, because it was because people I knew were being affected. But,
me too, though. If I weren't friends with Brittany Venti, like, who knows if I would have cared as much, because I was very much in a position to continue to stick up for her. Yeah. And at first I was like, no, whatever, you're trying to clout chase. And then I was like, oh, wow. And I started really looking into it. And then what happened to Brittany, that's what made me want to look into it. So that's how it goes. A lot of times you're not concerned with a cause until it happens to somebody you love or someone you care about. That's
the same thing with Trump, by the way. If they actually indict Trump and arrest him, that will be inciting to people to go, well, now it's real. Now it's affecting me, and now I'm going to be motivated to do something about it. Not to go and, I don't know, protest or something or riot, but I will vote for him, and I will get more motivated to fight for him. I think it's the same. It's the same psychological phenomenon.
The messaging is going to be like, if this can happen to Trump, this can happen to anybody. For any reason.
Happen to me.
They can just bend the rules to fit their will.
Then it could happen to you. It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody. And I think that's why they won't actually do it. They're just signaling to their base because it's cute.
It's
for them,
cute. It's adorable. It gives them something to talk about through the weekend. Interesting, though. Oh, we got Midwest Finest. That virtuous victim video was great, Aydin. What the chances of society eventually catches on and the victimhood era goes away? I mean, that would be nice. What would it take for that to happen? For you to just not get your cookie when you push the button? You don't get your validation. You don't get your power. You don't get your status. You don't get your get out of awkwardness free card, I guess. Get out of accountability free card.
The problem with that is that this is an evolutionary proclivity. So you're asking humans to go against evolutionary proclivities, which is why it works so incredibly well for grifters like Eliza Blue or other people who abuse this. Humans evolved this way because it's helpful for society, for us to care for the weak and the sick and the homeless, et cetera, et cetera. And so when someone comes to you and says, I'm a victim, I need help. Well, most people who are good human beings will go, oh my God, okay, what can I do to help you? I think the sad thing is now it's going to maybe breed that goodness out of people.
And when society realized, like, ooh, now it's like the weak, sad, helpless person. And now that is something that you necessarily can't see on the outside. That's something on the inside that you don't necessarily have to prove. You just have to say, like, I'm weak. I'm a victim. You can't really see it or tell, but believe me when I say, like, It's all broken inside here. No,
Yeah,
you don't even
yeah.
need proof. Spectral Citizen, don't blame yourself, Chrissy. What kind of person would say they were sex trafficked for fame? She definitely, went out to LA. I think she was able to fudge the story enough to make it make sense to herself.
Well,
You know,
that's actually possible. Self-persuasion isn't of itself a thing. It's the mere thought effect that I've brought up in the new video I'm working on. You can persuade yourself into believing a lie. It's totally possible. So maybe she really does believe it. Unfortunately, like the demonstrable facts of the situation are damning. But yeah, it's not your fault, Chrissy, whatsoever. You did what any normal good person would do and believed someone claiming to be a victim.
yeah, and I remember there was an appearance she did with that woman, and she was like, "We didn't have words. We couldn't put words to it back then. Like, we didn't know what to call it
Yeah.
back then." Like, she met enough people
Annie
who would
Lobert.
validate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, who helped her make the mental leap of like, "Oh yeah, I wasn't just like a glorified escort. Like, I was forced into this somehow." Like,
Wasn't it
yeah,
interesting that Annie Lobert has that light lavender purple hair, and so did Eliza?
yeah, it is funny.
Oh, I'm sure you said you watched my video, but like some of the stuff that I got into with like how she just says, "Oh, I'm obsessed with this person," and then she just copies their look because she is weird.
Yeah, my favorites were when she would try to distract from hard questions with flattery, like with Michael Malice.
Oh my god, I
Can you
know.
talk about your book? He's like, no.
No, I that's why I love Malice because he
Yeah.
was like, yeah, whatever. The one with
That was
Tim
great.
actually is my favorite because Tim was talking about how he used to load baggage at the Chicago airport. She's like, "Oh, that's why you're so jacked," and he went, "Yeah,
Oh my
sure. Anyway."
God. I was like, on what planet is he jacked? It's not like when you go to the science museum and you step on a scale. Wow, on Uranus, I'm 500 pounds. I was like, in what world? Like, Tim Pool is great at lots of things.
I love Tim,
But
but
muscle
like,
tone and a body, no, I'm sorry.
but
Like,
I love Tim's response, and he was like, "Yeah, sure. Anyway," and just went back to reading his shit. It's like.
That's like
Persuasion attempt
flattery
failed.
only
You rolled a 0, bitch. You rolled a
flattery
fucking
only
0.
works when there's like
Not even a
something
1.
there. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Give me like
It
not
was
even
so
he could
awkward.
believe that. Yeah.
No, I mean it was so awkward. Like all the stuff with Tim was very awkward. Like clearly, she saw Tim as a mark, right? Someone to move
Yep.
on, and I try not to like portray Tim super negatively in my video because I don't think it's really his fault. I do think Shane
No.
Cashman is at fault, by the way.
Definitely. I think there's no way Tim can personally vet every guest. He has a team
Yeah.
around him who this is their job. And he's also in a position where he's got to interview and talk to the person of the moment, whoever's kind of like hot right now, or somebody who can speak on a number of issues at any point, which is like what he's kind of doing with Phil Labonte. He's kind of become the new
fucking weirdos on the internet who call me every fucking name in the book, and Tim had me on his show, but I'm guaranteed there would be people who'd be in this chat being like, Aydin's a Nazi, Aydin's a pedophile, I don't know, just give some, throw up
anything.
thing, right?
Yeah.
However, and I guarantee that's why Tim reacted the way he did. Because he's like, okay, whatever. People say this about every single guest I fucking have because they say this about everybody.
Right.
Because of course they do. And just didn't really. How could he have known, I guess? It's not. I don't blame Tim at all for.
No, I don't either. I think he was. And he also, and I don't blame him for not talking about it right away. Like I think the people around him very much misled him on her.
Yes. Well, I mean, Ian Crossland made his own video where he was like, Eliza, you're fucked. Like, you gotta be honest about this stuff.
Yeah, he was really honest. And he's also like, yeah, I liked hanging out with her, whatever. Like he was very honest.
She didn't put her foot on his dick,
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think he had to make a video about that because it sounded like, oh, okay, it sounds like maybe he's with a girl right now. And they were like, when was this? Was this the first Eliza appearance, second Eliza appearance? Because it just sounded like the kind of video you make to clear yourself if you're with somebody. So.
Well, I don't really, I mean, I don't know. That was not my experience whatsoever with the after party, etc. with Tim Pool. Like we went.
Oh, I did not have such an after party. I went back to my hotel. Like,
Did they do
but
anything afterwards with you?
I mean, I came with my boyfriend at
Yeah.
the time, but there was no any kind of after party. I think we just went, maybe like went downstairs, had like a drink at the bar there, and like he showed us around. I don't know, that might have been before.
It's a nice place. He's got a great.
It's a great place. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like honored and happy to be there,
Yeah, me
and
too.
then just kind of went back. But it is sad. I mean, I don't know. It's also totally out of control. Like if somebody who works on his show like
Yeah.
can't stand me because of a difference of opinion, like that's completely out of my control. And if I never go back on again for that reason, like there's nothing I can do about it. So
I had no idea about that Cassandra McDonald was like best friends or really good friends with Eliza Blue. And I imagine I probably won't be invited back on because of the video, even though I said nothing negative about Tim in it. Because I don't, as I've just re-explicated and relitigated, I don't think it was
yeah.
Tim's fault. I think Tim could have handled that audience reaction a little bit better, obviously. But I don't think it was his fault.
No.
How would he have known?
Yeah.
After the show, he went out to the casino, which is like his new thing, I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was I heard about this, like, and I hope this isn't like this part isn't rude to Tim, but I was shocked the amount of money he dropped because I'm like, here's $20.
Really?
I'm like, yeah, I'm like,
What,
here's
like
$20.
10 grand?
I
More?
didn't pay attention to it, but like, I
Okay.
hate gambling. I hate
The
gambling.
stacks. You just saw stacks. That's how it is. Like when I
Yeah.
a couple times I've gone gambling, like always attached to gigs, you know, with Anthony Cumia who runs
Mhm.
Compound
Oh yeah,
Media, and
yeah.
he's actually so much fun to gamble with. Like he literally like slid me like $1,000. He's like, come
Wow.
gamble next week, and to a couple other another comic too, and he'll tell you exactly how to play each hand. Like I won.
Yeah, I was asking Tim for help
a
on my
couple
shit.
out. Like
He's like, I don't know what to do.
I wouldn't have been able to play if he hadn't like gave me the money,
Yeah.
because I'm not one to gamble either. I'm like, if I'm gonna blow money, I'm gonna buy a purse, you know, like
Yeah,
something I
yeah,
can see and feel
bought
and
me
use
like
every day.
yeah, Tim bought me in a couple times because
It's fun. That's the only way to play. And then I won a couple $1,000s. I'm like, fuck, thanks,
I didn't
Anthony.
win
It was
shit. I lost
so much
everything.
fun.
The only times, so the only times I've ever, I don't understand gambling. It doesn't make sense to me. It just look, I'm a very addictive personality person. I smoke, I drink, but I don't get gambling. Right? It doesn't make sense in my head.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, it just doesn't. I have an addictive personality, but I don't get it. The first time I ever went gambling, I was at an academic conference in Las Vegas, and well, it's in fucking Vegas. And my dad gave me $100 and said, "Aydin, this is just for you to gamble with. This is
Aw,
$100 is specifically for you to gamble with."
it's cute.
Gone in 5 minutes. And I went like, "Well, what the fuck? What's the purpose of this? I don't understand." And it was blackjack, which I can card count at. And you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to let people know you can card count, because I can card count, but I still fucked up. Like,
Wow.
so-
I know when you think of it, you're like, of all the ways I can turn this $100 into something fun, why would you choose the thing that lasts 5 minutes? So
because you need to like do the long game on it, I guess.
yeah, my sister's husband is a professional gambler, not like on TV,
Oh
just
yeah,
the
yeah.
degenerate kind.
He knows how to
And
do it though. Yeah.
I guess, I mean, he's not hanging with the greatest people, but I guess
Well,
he does it enough to make an
yeah.
occasional couple $100 whenever he needs to. So not ideal, not who you really want your sister to be with, but yeah,
Just the thing I would point about gambling is that like you can be a statistician such as myself, but if you don't have the initial input money to go into it, because you will lose, then, and I'm talking like you need $1,000 to start out to do it, then you're fucked. You will win it back at some point, but you got to have that like initial investment. Can you give me 1 second? I have to go use the bathroom. Be right back.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
I can't believe we've been going on 2 hours. I'll read the super chats. Thanks for having Aydin on, best guest. Yeah, she's great. She's so interesting to talk to. She's so smart. I'm like, I just find her fascinating. Astley LaRue, are you the one that slept with my ex-husband? What? No. And then the rest of these are questions for Aydin. Yeah, I think of that movie where the smart were they MIT students or something? They were counting cards. That was actually a great movie. What the hell was it called? Not Rounders. You guys know what I'm talking about. You know the movie. I think Kevin Spacey was in it, and he was like training a group of college students to like count cards. I'm like, come on, we'll all go to Vegas. 21.
Oh, yeah.
21. Now I feel like
21,
watching
yeah.
that.
That's a good movie, though.
I also want to watch Molly's Game again. Gambling movies are fun, but trying to gamble is really anxiety inducing. We got a couple of questions for Aydin here from Extra Special K. Aydin, do you think that mass immigration is a way for politicians who don't own the nation to create a people who don't own the nation either?
Probably to a certain degree, because they can more easily persuade those people to act in a certain way by promising them citizenship. It's a very easy promise. It's a very easy way to be able to get a voting block. It has worked not just on this, but has worked historically from actual citizens in the United States. So, for example, like the Democrat Party has done some of the most evil things imaginable to the Black community over the course of human history. And because they have now said, oh, no, but we'll give you government money, that now the Black community votes 95% for the Democrats, even though they were the party of
keeping slavery going
and slavery and Jim Crow and then they started putting Planned Parenthoods into Black communities and destroying the idea of the Black father with the introduction of welfare programs that would. It makes me so fucking sick, but it is the way that it is that the Black community was more intact in 1960 than the white community in terms of the family.
Wow.
There was less fatherlessness in the Black community in 1960 than there was in the white community. And now it's something like 80%, 85% of Black children are born into fatherless homes. I know, it's so sad, but it's been done by the US. It's been largely promoted by the US government. Because that's
incentivized.
How you get a community of people who are devoted to voting a certain way.
Yeah. Yikes. James Shart, does Aydin have an opinion as to how Shane Cashman got suckered
She fucked him.
by Eliza?
Sorry,
are you just reading? Are you reading body language, or is this just like female intuition? Because you've looked into this deeply. But he's married.
I know he's married, and he has like a little baby. By the way, also like his wife just had a baby. Like
that's what happens when guys are about to have a baby. I think they want to cheat. Like
because your wife's not gonna want to have sex. She can't. Like she's very like not interested in having sex, and she's not interested probably in having sex for months after having the baby because she's a little bit preoccupied. I don't know this. This is complete speculation, but Shane Cashman goes and spends a month with Eliza Blue. After
a month?
Yeah, he was there for a month.
I hope he brought his slosh boots. Remember, right. She's like, do you have any slosh boots?
Come over to the farm.
Girl, you're a slosh boot. Yeah.
Right. So I don't want to, I'm speculating. I don't know.
Okay.
But Shane Cashman has done some actually really good journalism in regards to Kanye. His Eliza Blue, quote, journalism is some of the most insane shit I've ever read in my entire life. I am not talking shit about Shane Cashman, but it gives me the impression that he had an ulterior motive, meaning he had to protect his queen.
Yeah, and it's favorable in a way that just does not make sense.
Right.
It's beyond favorable.
Yeah, when he gets into talk about the gang, of course they're all deleted now, but when he talks about the gang stalkers, like that was... How could you hear someone tell you to your face that they were being gang stalked and not like try to fact check that or look into what gang stalking is as an idea because it's a schizophrenic thing? It literally is a thing that schizophrenics believe. I looked into the research on gang stalking, and it's considered to be legitimate in about like 3% of cases. The rest of it is schizophrenia or other mental illness. And he just published that shit without question. She's being gang stalked by Defango, by the way, in all his black SUVs.
Which is like unproven. Oh, this would be a great time to let people know. I do have a digital cannibal shirt for sale
Oh,
on
I love that
Flagrant
shirt.
Triggers. Yes. Hail, fellow PR bots. If you haven't before, we still have a digital cannibal shirt on sale.
Gee, I sure wish I
Gray,
had gotten all that PR
green,
money.
navy. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's even bought one
Actually,
of
my,
these
my
yet. I just
video
thought it
did
was funny.
horribly. It was lowest in my last 10 videos when it first came out.
Must have been
And
thwarted algorithmically.
I think so, but Shane, Think Before You Sleep.
Oh yeah, Sean.
I said Shane, sorry, Shane Cashman, Sean. He messaged me and he said, try to change up the title. And he sent me a really good video about it, but changed up the title. Bam, like that.
And it
The
worked?
video got back in the algorithm. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. He's very smart at internet.
Yeah, he's
stuff
a
like
really
that.
smart guy and he's really nice.
Aurelius Mosh, sorry for derailing. I gotta know, Aydin, does your name come from the N64 game? If so, you're the coolest. If not, you're still cool. I'll be both.
Oh, well, thank you. It was it's real simple. When I was 11 years old, I signed up to play Final Fantasy 11, the online Final Fantasy game. That was a Christmas gift from my dad. And I just clicked random name because I didn't know what to choose, and it gave me Aydin. And
Wow.
that's it. It's that simple. Aydin, by the way, is a male's name, but I don't really care. I like it, so.
Yeah, it was confusing at first. I was like, all right.
It's a very common name now. It really wasn't a common name in 2001 when I picked it,
It's cool. No, I like it. It's pretty. Pilgrim Media, how will Britney's social media problems end? I think she's debating deleting the tweet to get back on Twitter.
It's been 2 months. It's been 3 months nearly now. Yeah.
Like, no more. I don't know. There's nothing more good that can come of her staying off of Twitter. Like, the point's been proven. I don't know.
Which is extremely admirable. And then, but also the other day, her YouTube got temporarily deleted.
Yeah, which was something she was telling me it was because she was trying to unage restrict some old videos about lolicons or something, lolicals.
She was trying to expose pedophiles, and that's what they got mad about. Yeah. Oh no! How dare you?
Yeah. Oh wow! It doesn't matter
horror.
nuance or point of view. If you just say words, you're going to get a strike. It's so
God!
ridiculous.
How dare someone expose pedophiles?
It's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But you're just the greatest and so smart and so fun to talk to. We'll have to do this again sometime, Aydin. I'm just such a fan.
Well, thank you, Chrissy. You're awesome. It's awesome to talk to you.
Tell the good people where they can follow you and find you and what's coming up.
You can, of course, always find me on my Twitter, which is at Aydin Paladin. You can find me on my YouTube, which is Aydin Paladin, AYDIN PALADIN. You can also find me on my weekly podcast, which is The Broken Crown. And the new video will be about, as I said, the creating monsters effect, about how people can convince themselves that other people are evil.
Ooh, I like that. It's good. It's always important because I think I was going to mention this before. Humans, like by nature, we want to be like, oh, get into groups. Who are our people? Who can we trust? Who can we immediately disregard? Because it takes more time to listen, and it's just more time spent listening and considering.
It's called cognitive miserliness.
Makes sense. Well, cool. I can't wait for that to come out. Thank you so much to the chat for your super chats and your smart comments and questions. You guys are the best.